Sea Circle Calendar 1494. The sea breeze blew past, blowing away the heat of summer and bringing a touch of coolness. At this moment, a young man with short black hair was lying on a hammock under a coconut tree, holding a book in his hand, enjoying the afternoon comfortably. The young man's clean and fair face, with sharp-edged and indifferent, black and deep eyes, glowing with charming luster, thick eyebrows, high nose, beautiful lip shape, all of which express nobility and dignity grace. 4 girls in bikinis were fanning him with feather fans. If it weren't for him still wearing the cloak of justice, surrounded by sailors in marine uniforms, the image and temperament of the young man would be like a scholar. The young man is called Victor, and he is the base commander of the 191 branch of South Blue Marine, with the rank of colonel. Blue blue. Blue blue. At this time, the phone bug in the hand of a sailor beside him made a call. Master Victor. Hai Bing immediately brought the phone bug to Victor's side. Victor reached out and casually picked up the microphone. The phone bug imitates the face and voice of South Blue Division 6 Admiral Hagen Dick. Hagen Rear Admiral ordered, Colonel Victor, the port of Wilhelm has been attacked by pirates, please rush to support immediately. Clear. Victor put the microphone down, and said lazily, go and assemble the troops, and then wait for my order. Although the rally order was given, Victor didn't seem in any hurry. Yes. The surrounding marine officers were expressionless, and they were all familiar with it. In their cognition, their chief is a person who has no profit and can't afford it early. What's more, the port of Wilhelm is not within the jurisdiction of Branch 191, and the rescue in the past was purely for help. Unless there are benefits to fish for. Moreover, the 189 branch does not know how to praise, which is too much of a hindrance. Wilhelm Harbor is a very prosperous port city. However, thick smoke can now be seen everywhere. The normally lively streets were filled with screams and wailing, and the clean walls were blackened by flames. Boom. 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 Pirate ships at sea are bombarding the port of Wilhelm, and every time a shell falls into the town, it sets fire to it. During the shelling, some civilians fled with their heads in their arms and escaped from the building, while some hugged the bodies of their family members and cried loudly by the side of the road. The pirates who attacked the port of Wilhelm were a group of pirates called the Hyde pirates. They had 30 pirate ships and more than 5,000 people. The Hyde pirates are notorious for burning, killing and looting. In recent years, in many areas of South Blue, no matter men, women or children, as long as they hear the name of the head pirates, they will tremble with fear. In the port of Wilhelm, the Marine 189 branch is stationed, with nearly 3,000 sailors. Colonel Malone, the chief of the base, organizes the sea soldiers to resist the attacks of the pirates, and at the same time urges his superiors to send reinforcements. The Hyde pirates are not only large in number, but also very powerful in combat. Although Marine defended the port so that the pirates could not land temporarily, the casualties of Marine continued to increase. At this time, the adjutant Captain Grady came to Malone and said to him, report, Hagen Rear Admiral has sent 191 branch to support us. I hope they don't hold grudges and come to support quickly. Malone breathed a sigh of relief after learning that Hagen Rear Admiral had dispatched support. However, he was still a little worried because he had seized a smuggling ship full of arms. And Victor sent someone to say hello, hoping he would let him go, but he ignored it. However, after 6 hours, pirates have broken through the blockade of the port. The reinforcements from Branch 191 have not been seen for a long time. There are less than 2,000 Marines who can guard the port of Wilhelm. Moreover, the two sides have already started hand-to-hand combat mode. We are outnumbered. If you don't come to the reinforcements, you will really be unable to hold on. Malone ordered Grady to urge the reinforcements again and ask where the reinforcements were. In the 191 branch base, the sailors were busy, some were wiping the knives in their hands, and some were oiling their rifles for maintenance. They are making pre-war preparations. However, Base Commander Victor is still in no rush. Despite Hagen Rear Admiral's urging again and again. However, Victor did not give the order to start. Blue blue. Blue blue. The phone bug started calling again. Victor reached out and picked up the microphone. The phone bug imitated Hagen Rear Admiral's expression and voice, and said impatiently, haven't you arrived at Port Wilhelm yet? Victor replied, it will be there soon. Hagen Vice Admiral has heard similar words many times. Hagen's rear admiral's patience was already on the verge of being exhausted. He suppressed his anger and said coldly, "Colonel Victor, I know you have contacts in this department, but this is South Blue, and your 191st branch is under my command, and you need to obey my orders." Victor is a student of Marine Admiral Zephyr. After graduating from the military academy, he stayed in the headquarters. Rumor has it that he was transferred to South Blue for violating military discipline. Although the military rank remains the same, the colonel of the headquarters has more rights than the colonel of the branch. Victor replied, "Sir, I understand what you mean. I will use the fastest speed to rush to support." After hanging up, Victor said to the surrounding officers, "Leave in 5 hours." "Yes." The officers replied in unison. The fighting continued all night. The Black Pirates didn't expect Branch 189 to be so difficult to crack. They paid the price of nearly 2,000 casualties before entering the town. However, there are very few Marines left in the town. At this time, Colonel Malone had lost his companions, and he was surrounded by a group of pirates. Like a pack of hungry wolves surrounding a wounded tiger. The white military uniform on Ma Long's body has long been bloodline Madara Madara. He has 7 stab wounds on his chest and more than 11 bullet holes in his arms and thighs. The wound was bleeding continuously, and the cloak of justice was also torn. Even though he was outnumbered, he still never flinched. "This is his justice. Get out of here." At this time, a deep voice sounded. Ma Long panted heavily, holding the saber in his hand and staring ahead. In Malone's line of sight, a tall man wearing a set of black heavy armor appeared. The man walked towards Ma Long step by step, and every step he took would bring Ma Long a sense of oppression. The man's name is Hyde. He is the captain of the Hyde Pirates, and he was offered a reward of 45 million Baileys by Marine. Hyde's weapon is a huge black hammer. The hammer weighs 500 kilograms. As long as it is hit by a hammer, the bones will be smashed to pieces. However, the hammer seemed like nothing in Hyde's hands. In particular, Hyde is as tall as 5 meters, holding a hammer that is more than 3 meters long, as if he can smash everything. "Ha ha ha ha, die, Marine." Head held the hammer and rushed directly to Ma Long. Head was heavily armored, and he ran like a heavy tank, and his speed was not slow. Ma Long was shot in the leg. Unable to jump and dodge with flexible steps, he could only roll to the ground in embarrassment. Boom. The hammer hit the muddy ground, splashing large pieces of gravel and black mud. Ma Long looked even more embarrassed, and his cheek was cut by gravel. Head swung the hammer again. Boom. The hammer fell. A whole house was smashed to pieces. Malone had tried his best to dodge, he was out of breath. "You can't dodge this blow." With a ferocious smile on his face, Head swung the hammer again. Sure enough, Ma Long couldn't dodge this time, so he could only resist with a knife. But the saber in his hand was directly smashed under the attack of the giant hammer. Ma Long was smashed into the ground, his entire chest was flattened, and his sternum was shattered. He died. HMPH. Hyde took the hammer and shook it lightly. After shaking off the flesh and blood, he ordered, "Hurry up, don't leave a single coin behind." "Got it, boss. Here's a fortune." The pirates are very excited. Marine is not in the way, they can plunder Wilhelm Harbor to their heart's content. As pirates, their professional skills are very skilled. The pirates quickly plundered a lot of gold, silver and money, and a lot of people. Especially women and children, their price in the slave market is much higher than that of men. Men, women, and children, with their hands tied, were driven onto the boat one by one. The heavy box was filled with gold, silver and jewelry, as well as banknotes and coins. In addition, the pirates did not let go of food, medicine, drinks, weapons and ammunition in the Marine branch base. There are too many supplies in the port of Wilhelm. Although nearly 2,000 people were killed or injured, all the pirates, including Hyde, felt it was a good deal. As for the dead, it can only be said that they were unlucky. Those who survive can enjoy themselves to the fullest. At this time, a pirate officer found a fax from the 6th branch in the Marine temporary command post at the port. Why didn't Marines' reinforcements come? Pirate leader Zoro is a little confused. They started attacking Wilhelm Harbor during the day yesterday, and now it's daylight, and Marines' reinforcements haven't been seen yet. Whatever, even if it comes, we can clean it up. Fida, the pirate leader beside him, said with a smile. They wiped out 189 branches and killed nearly 3,000 sailors. Even Colonel Malone, the base chief of Branch 189, died at the hands of their boss. Even if the reinforcements from the 191st branch come, there is nothing to fear. Hyde sat on his throne on the deck of the main ship, smoking a cigar he had scavenged from a nobleman's house. Gold, silver and jewels were piled up in front of him. This is tradition. The cadres brought the loot back to the ship, and it was to be distributed by Hyde. At this moment, the pirates' eyes lit up. In addition to the slaves on the ships, gold, silver and jewelry, as well as a large amount of cash, are enough for them to be happy for a while. Wilhelm Port is indeed a large port, so fat, it's a pity that there are many goods that can't be taken away, so they can only be burned. At this time, the pirate on the mainmast held a telescope and observed the distance. If an enemy is approaching, he will sound the alarm immediately. Suddenly, Marine's warship appeared on the sea. 1, 2, 3, 6 ships, masthead, 6 Marine warships appear in the southwest direction. When the pirate on the mast spotted Marine, he immediately shouted down. 6 ships, at least 3,000 people, it's Marine's reinforcements. Zoro's reaction was quick, and he always remembered the reinforcements from Branch 191. It's all over, so come reinforcements. They're here to collect the corpse. Certainly yes, their commander must be a coward. None of the pirate officers on the main ship took Marine seriously. In their view, this Marine, which was supposed to appear yesterday, was deliberately delayed until now. The purpose is to avoid confrontation with them. Hyde thought the same thing. He stood up, picked up the binoculars and looked out. The warship has stopped. At this time, including Hyde, the cadres of the pirates witnessed all this. Ha 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 ha. Hyde let out a disdainful laugh, and the group of Marines dared not come over. Boss, go kill them. Kill all these Marines. They are not our opponents at all. The Hyde pirates just wiped out the 189th branch yesterday, and their morale is booming now. In their view, Marine is simply vulnerable. Then throw them all into the sea. Hyde's eyes were fierce. If he could wipe out the Marines of the 2 branches in one go, then his reward would be greatly increased. At that time, he will be the strongest pirate in South Blue. At the same time, on the deck of the Marine warship, Lieutenant Colonel Marta was on the mast, observing the movements of the pirates. When he saw the pirates approaching them, he immediately jumped off the mast and reported to York, "Lord York, the pirates are indeed coming. You really don't take me seriously." York smoked a cigarette. "Get rid of them as soon as possible." Oh. The officers responded at the same time. Like the Hyde pirates, Marine of Branch 191 is equally confident, and doesn't take the Hyde pirates seriously. Because since Victor came to the 191 branch, he has strictly trained the Marines of the 191 branch, so that everyone's strength has been greatly improved. As for Victor's strength, in the eyes of the officers, it is even more unfathomable. Fire. With Marine's order to fire, 6 warships began to bombard the pirate ship. The 30 pirate ships were also divided into 2 parts. While counterattacking with cannons, they took advantage of the advantages of light hull and fast speed to maneuver at high speed, trying to surround Marine's warship. They're coming around. It's really a group of guys who don't know how to live or die. They will regret it. On the warship, whether it is an officer or a soldier, everyone has a fierce look in their eyes. They followed the great Lord Victor, and their strength has been greatly enhanced. Moreover, they have all been tempered in actual combat, and they are all veterans. What's more, in their eyes, Lord Victor is an invincible existence. Warships and pirate ships soon come into close contact. Although several pirate ships were hit by naval guns and the ships started to catch fire, the pirates on board were very excited. They waved their knives and guns, ready to jump to the opposite warship at any time. They are not afraid of Marine. Ha 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 ha. Hyde also came to the ship's side, holding a big hammer in his hand, ready to jump up and smash a big hole in the opponent's warship. Rush over. Finally, Hyde jumped up and jumped onto the warship with the pirate cadres and many pirate minions. The Marines on the warship were divided into several rows. The first 2 rows held swords, and the rear rows held rifles. As the rifles fired, the pirates were shot and fell into the sea one by one. Ding ding ding. Hyde was wearing heavy armor, and the bullets hit him and bounced off one after another. Kill them all. With Hyde's roar, the two sides began a hand-to-hand combat at close range. He is worthy of being a pirate with a bounty of 45 million. He swung his hammer and swept across. The surrounding Marines were either swept away or temporarily avoided him. Lieutenant Colonel Marta was holding the knife. His tiger's mouth was numb. He had just swung the knife and hit Hyde's hammer hard. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, Hyde was even more proud. What are you laughing at? At this time, a man's cold voice came from behind Hyde. Startled, Hyde turned around hastily. I saw a black-haired Colonel Marine standing behind him, less than 1 meter away. When did he get behind me? Hyde was startled. He didn't notice it at all just now, but now it was too late to think about it. Relying on his fighting instinct, he swung the hammer in his hand and slammed it at Colonel Marine in front of him. I thought that this gentle-looking Marine should be smashed into meat sauce. Die. He had a ferocious face and murderous intent in his eyes. He thought that the other party, like Colonel Malone, could be easily resolved. However, Hyde's hammer was caught. The opponent caught his hammer with bare hands. Is this the strength of 45 million? With a smile on his face, Victor calmly watched Hyde's reaction. Hyde's eyes widened, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face. How is this possible? Are you surprised? Victor's left hand turned black, holding the hammer, and as the fingers of his left hand exerted force suddenly, the hammer was crushed abruptly. The expression on Hyde's face has changed from shock to panic. This is no longer a matter of strength. The opponent's fingers are actually harder than steel. The surrounding pirates were stunned. Who are you? Hyde didn't believe that South Blue would have such a powerful Marine. Victor said blankly, the dead are not entitled to know. When Hyde asked Victor's identity, Hyde punched Victor. It's just that Victor threw his fist too. The fists of the two collided together. Hyde's hand was wearing a locked glove, however, the moment he touched Victor's fist, his face revealed a terrified expression. My hand. Hyde felt a terrible force pouring into his arm, moving around. With a bang, the entire arm exploded. Blood, minced meat, and bone dregs flew everywhere. Ah! Hyde screamed in pain while hugging his broken arm. It's so noisy. Victor put his left hand on Hyde's stomach. After a few seconds, a big hole exploded in Hyde's abdomen. Fragments of flesh and internal organs shot out, splashing the faces of the surrounding pirates. The blood-stained pirates stood there, unable to move, as if they had been petrified. And Victor stood far away, not a single drop of blood spattered on his body. What happened? Boss Hyde was killed. Is he still human? Now it's not just the pirates, even the cadres have lost their courage. There are so many of us, let's kill him together. Zoro was the first to react among the pirate cadres, and he quickly attacked Victor. Remarkably brave. Victor's voice appeared in Zoro's ear, and Zoro looked at Victor below in disbelief. Just now Victor disappeared from his sight. The moment he was stunned, Victor not only appeared in front of him, but also reached out and grabbed his neck, lifting him up. How is this possible? The surrounding pirate cadres, like Zoro, showed terrified eyes. Just like a ghost, Victor disappeared from their eyes. I like your reaction, because this is the despair of ants. The corner of Victor's mouth raised a smile, and as his right hand exerted force, Zahn's neck was directly crushed. Zahn's head drooped feebly. Long live Lord Victor. Long live Lord Victor. Long live Lord Victor. The surrounding Marines cheered. In comparison, the morale of the pirates plummeted, and they had no fighting spirit at all. A naval battle ended with Marines' overwhelming victory. Nearly 3,000 pirates were beheaded. Since Victor came to Branch 191, Branch 191 has left no prisoners of war. Master Victor, a total of 6.3 billion Baileys have been seized, and the value of gold and jewelry is yet to be estimated. A total of 6,416 women, children, and men were captured. Lieutenant Colonel Marta began to report the results of the battle. Victor took out a cigarette, took a deep breath, and said, "Release the captives, give them some food, and 20,000 Baileys for living expenses. He's Marine, he stands for justice, he saved everyone here, and he deserves the flowers and the accolades." Of course, this is image engineering. Victor needs to establish a positive image in front of the world, even if his heart is dark. Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Marta recorded Victor's order in his notebook. Victor went on to say, "In addition, Each of the sailors who participated in the war this time will be rewarded with 200,000 baileys. Those with a higher rank will receive an extra 100,000 according to the old rules. The pension for those who died in battle is still the old rule. 3,000 people, 200,000 per person. At least 600 million baileys must be issued. Moreover, the seaman apprentice is 300,000, the seaman first class is 400,000, the third-level non-commissioned officer is 500,000, the second-level non-commissioned officer is 600,000, and the first-level non-commissioned officer is 700,000. As the rank increases, the rewards increase. Although Victor is very greedy, he knows that he should spend the money and can't save a penny. Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Marta continued to record. Victor said, "Tell everyone there's a party tonight." Yes. Marta was about to convey the order after recording, but he suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked Victor. "Master Victor, do you want to contact the arms dealer for the recovered weapons?" Victor said, "Take it back and store it in the warehouse, and don't sell it for the time being." "Yes, then I will convey your order." Marta turned and left. After Marta delivered the banquet and bonus orders, all the Marines cheered, and the shouts of "Long live Victor" sounded in the port. Since following Victor, the Marines of Branch 191 have become stronger, promoted faster, and earned more money. These are all real benefits. Therefore, they all follow Victor from the bottom of their hearts. The 189 branch was wiped out by the Black Pirates, and Colonel Malone was killed. The next day, the Black Pirates were wiped out by the 191st branch. After Hagen Rear Admiral learned about it, he was very angry. Because the distance between Branch 191 and Branch 189 only takes 5 hours. However, until the 189th branch was wiped out, Victor's reinforcements could not be waited for. Hagen Rear Admiral was furious. Therefore, Hagen immediately sent a fax to the headquarters, asking the headquarters to dispose of Victor. Although Victor is Hagen's subordinate, the appointment of Marine is decided by the headquarters. Therefore, no matter how much Victor has done, it needs to be studied and judged by the headquarters. However, since Hagen made a real name report, he must collect Victor's criminal evidence. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Sengoku received a fax from Hagen Rear Admiral. In the fax, Victor's 3 crimes were listed. 1. Delay the fighter plane, resulting in the complete destruction of friendly forces. 2. Blackmail nobles in the jurisdiction and blackmail businessmen. 3. Reselling arms. Sengoku couldn't help frowning after reading it. He believed that Hagen Rear Admiral was not slandering Victor. However, Victor's identity is unusual. Victor is not only Zephyr's disciple, but also the son of Sengoku, Zephyr's comrade in arms Iron Man Vice Admiral. 10 years ago, in the Valley of the Gods incident, the Andersons died fighting to protect the Celestial Dragons, leaving Victor, who was only 10 years old. Therefore, although Victor violated military discipline many times, he was still not sent to a military court. No way. Who made Victor's background hard enough? The middle-aged and elderly generals of naval headquarters all knew the Andersons. Of course, having a background is one of them. The point is that Victor is very talented. He awakened observation hockey when he was born, and has the potential to become a Marine Admiral. Hey, where should I put him? Sengoku has a bit of a headache. Leaving Victor in the headquarters, it will make the headquarters a mess. But if they are dispatched to all over the world, it will be a disaster. What's giving you such a headache? At this time, Suru walked into the office, and as soon as she saw Sengoku's frown, she knew that Sengoku was troubled. That kid Victor. Sengoku didn't hide anything, and chose to tell the truth. He is indeed not a disobedient child, he said with a smile. Crane was friends with Victor's mother, Shelley Rear Admiral. After the Andersons died in battle, Naval Headquarters deliberately left Victor in the headquarters to raise him in order to worry about being bullied. Therefore, Crane watched Victor grow up. Later, they respected Victor's decision and sent him to the military academy, becoming Zephyr's first student. Look at it. Sengoku handed Hagen Rear Admiral's fax to he. Crane also frowned after reading it. Delaying a fighter jet is a felony. Moreover, because of the delay of the fighter plane, the 189 branch was wiped out. If he is court-martialed, Victor will definitely go to jail. He asked, "Then how do you plan to deal with it?" Sengoku leaned on the chair, looked up at the ceiling, and said, "You can't just listen to what Hagen Rear Admiral said. I will send a fax to ask Victor, and then send someone to South Blue to investigate the situation. If it is true, then do it again. Deal with. Yeah. He nodded, thinking that this was the appropriate way to deal with it. Sengoku said. Regardless of whether it is true or not, we must find a way to place Victor. Keeping him in South Blue is not a long-term solution. Crane suddenly made a suggestion. Why don't you let him go to New World? It just so happens that New World is also short of people, and Victor can help. Sengoku was silent for a while, then said, I'll think about it. Although Victor is only 20 years old, he has a strong cultivation talent, especially in hockey and taijutsu. Moreover, as the first student of Zephyr, Victor has the strength not inferior to Sakazuki and Pelusalino. Today, both Sakazuki and Pelusalino are active in New World, facing the monsters of New World. Master Victor, a fax from Naval Headquarters. Lieutenant Colonel Marta handed the fax to Victor. After reading the contents of the fax, Victor replied. Answer to the headquarters, we were hit by a storm on the way, and the ship was damaged to varying degrees, which caused the rescue to be delayed. Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Marta turned and left. Facing Naval Headquarters questioning, Victor found an excuse at random. The weather problem is the most suitable reason. As for the headquarters, believe it or not, Victor couldn't be bothered. He has no other purpose now, just to make money. If Marine can't get along anymore, then he will leave Marine, whether it's occupying a country or becoming a pirate. Money is capital. Only when you have money can you recruit soldiers, get weapons and ships, and build your own power. If Victor wants to realize his ambition, he must have a lot of wealth and influence. In the years since he came to South Blue, Victor has made more than 3 billion Baileys. This time, the harvest in Port Wilhelm is equal to twice the annual income. After Victor replied to the fax, Sengoku couldn't fault it either. Of course, whether Victor was caught in a storm requires investigation of Branch 191. Since Hagen Rear Admiral reported with his real name, Sengoku will also do a full set. So, Sengoku sent Wood Vice Admiral from the headquarters to form an investigation team to South Blue to investigate this incident. The dispatch of Vice Admiral represents the importance attached to Naval Headquarters, and Hagen Rear Admiral will definitely not have any objections. Wood Vice Admiral is an iron-blooded tough guy, and in Naval Headquarters, he is known for his fairness and justice. Hagen Rear Admiral learned that it was Wood Vice Admiral who came to investigate. His confidence is even more sufficient. Therefore, Hagen Rear Admiral immediately dispatched Colonel Gabriel to secretly go to Talos Kingdom. The Kingdom of Talos is within the jurisdiction of Division 191. Unlike the Kingdom of Kozer, which is dominated by light industry and trade, the Kingdom of Talos is mainly based on agriculture and mining. The land and mines were under the control of the nobility. Therefore, the nobles of Talos Kingdom are very rich. However, since Victor was transferred, the lives of the nobles have not been going well. Because Victor will demand protection money from them. Of course, in order not to fall into the trap of others, Victor will ask nobles and businessmen to donate by way of fundraising. If they don't donate money, then Victor will not guarantee that their ship will leave his jurisdiction smoothly. Victor will detain the cargo ship, then search for ammunition and even wanted criminals from the ship, and then find a reason to go to the homes of nobles and merchants to arrest them. Therefore, the nobles and merchants of the Talos Kingdom dare not speak out. Colonel Gabriel first came to Marquis Charles's castle and handed Hagen Rear Admiral's personal letter to Marquis Charles. After reading Hagen Rear Admiral's handwritten letter, Marquis Charlie showed a pleasant expression on his face, but he was still a little uneasy. Can you really drive that guy out of South Blue? Gabriel said seriously. Master Marquis, as long as you are willing to testify against Victor's extortion and extortion, then Wood Vice Admiral will definitely deal with him. The investigation team headed by Wood Vice Admiral had just arrived at Leinster Harbor in the Kingdom of Talos, and was immediately greeted grandly. The king of the Talos Kingdom, as well as a group of nobles and wealthy merchants, Hagen Rear Admiral, the Admiral of the 6th Branch, and several commodores from South Blue, are already waiting in the port to welcome them. The Vice Admiral in this department is far above Hagen. If he can be appreciated by Wood Vice Admiral, promoted and appointed, and brought back to the headquarters, then he has a bright future. Therefore, the senior officers of South Blue are extraordinarily energetic and well-groomed. Before Wood Vice Admiral came, Hagen Rear Admiral had already sent people to contact the nobles and wealthy businessmen of the Talos Kingdom, asking them to testify and confirm Victor's extortion. Hagen doesn't want Victor to stay with South Blue. Therefore, he collected evidence more actively than the investigative team. The base of Branch 191 is in the port of Leinster. At this time, Victor yawned and came to the port with a sleepy face. Seeing Victor's appearance, Hagen secretly sneered. Hagen also inquired about Wood Vice Admiral, and he heard that Wood Vice Admiral is a well-known iron and blood selfless in the headquarters. This time Sengoku Admirals sent Wood Vice Admiral to bring Victor to court-martial. Coming. Wood Vice Admiral's ship is coming. At this time, a Marine Commodore said excitedly. Under everyone's gaze, a huge warship appeared in everyone's sight. That is a large warship that is only deployed in the headquarters, and a ship can carry 1,000 sailors. As the warship sailed into the port, lowered the anchor, and set up the ship's ladder, a man with a serious expression and eagle eyes walked off the ship step by step. The man glanced away, and all the senior Marine officers in the port were silent, and their heartbeats began to speed up. It is the oppressive feeling of the strong. Grunt. Hagen Rear Admiral swallowed, and a drop of sweat dripped from his forehead. He's getting a little nervous. This must be Wood Vice Admiral, a tough guy indeed. Just when Hagen was fantasizing about Wood Vice Admiral picking up Victor, Victor waved his hand and shouted, "Wood Uncle! Wood Uncle!" Hagen Rear Admiral, Marquis Charles and others were all stunned. On this occasion, isn't Victor's address to Wood Vice Admiral a bit too affectionate? Not only Hagen Rear Admiral, Marquis Charles, and all the nobles and businessmen of the Talos Kingdom, even Lieutenant Colonel Marta and others were shocked. Lieutenant Colonel Marta and others have read the deeds of Wood Vice Admiral from the newspapers, and know that he is a tough guy, impartial. I thought that the investigation team led by Wood Vice Admiral would find out the problem in Branch 191. Unexpectedly, Master Victor actually met Wood Vice Admiral. Now things are turning around. At this time, Victor took the initiative to approach Wood Vice Admiral. Wood Vice Admiral is about 3 meters 1. Victor's about the same height as Wood Vice Admiral. Wood Vice Admiral laughed loudly and said, "I knew that you would cause trouble wherever you were." Victor replied indifferently, "Too good will always make people jealous." "Really?" Wood Vice Admiral restrained his smile, and then said with a straight face, "If you really want me to find out the problem, I won't let you off lightly." Victor replied disapprovingly, "Wood Uncle, just check it, there will be absolutely no problem." "Well, that's good." Wood Vice Admiral glanced at Victor and nodded. This scene was seen by Hagen Rear Admiral and others. The Marquis Charles and other nobles and wealthy businessmen began to waver in their hearts. The relationship between Victor and Wood Vice Admiral is obviously unusual. If Wood Vice Admiral favors Victor, then they will make trouble for themselves by proving Victor. Moreover, judging by Victor's calm look, he is not afraid of checking at all. They can have the wealth and status of today, which one is not human? Therefore, they decided to observe the situation first. Wood Vice Admiral declined the invitation to have a meal, and he led the investigation team directly to the base of the 191st branch to start the investigation. Every morning, sailors are called out individually. The sailors who were spot-checked would be taken to the room alone and questioned repeatedly. Moreover, after the questioning, the sailors who were spot-checked could not go back for the time being. Therefore, Marine in Branch 191 has no idea of the investigation direction and progress of the investigation team. This made the officers of the 191st branch start to worry. In case someone slips up, everyone will suffer. However, Victor was very calm. Lieutenant Colonel Marta said worriedly, "Master Victor, will the investigation team find out the problem?" When he learned that the investigation team was coming, Victor notified everyone and asked them to unify their voices and assist in the investigation. In addition, before the investigation team leaves, everyone is forbidden to drink alcohol and keep their mouths shut. It's easy to tell the truth after drinking. After listening to Victor, he smiled and said, "Don't worry, it's Wood Vice Admiral, there will be no problem." Marta asked cautiously, "Is Lord Victor familiar with Wood Vice Admiral?" Victor said with a smile, "Wood Vice Admiral is my father's best friend during his lifetime. When I was a child, I also peed on his head. So, even if the problem is really found, Wood Vice Admiral will help to fix it." Wood Vice Admiral is a close friend of Victor's father in this life, and the two have a lifelong friendship. On this point, Victor never lied. However, Wood Vice Admiral is indeed impartial. Want Wood Vice Admiral to wipe his ass? That's impossible. Black is black, white is white, and Wood Vice Admiral is a man of principle. So that's the case. Lieutenant Colonel Marta finally breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. At this time, Victor said with a smile, "You can make the relationship between me and Wood Vice Admiral public, so that everyone can feel at ease, and let those guys understand the situation, who can mess with it, and who can't mess with it." Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Marta understood the meaning of Victor's words. The Marine executives of South Blue, the nobles and businessmen of the Talos Kingdom, all want to find out the relationship between Victor and Wood. As long as it is confirmed that the relationship between the two is very familiar, then they will not dare to cause trouble. Afterwards, Victor informed Lieutenant Colonel Marta of his background. Through the mouth of Lieutenant Colonel Marta, publicized Victor's background. No wonder Lord Victor is not afraid. It turns out that Lord Victor's parents were both rear admirals in the headquarters and died fighting to protect the celestial dragons. Wood Vice Admiral and Lord Victor's father are close friends, and the relationship between the two is very close. The headquarters are just going through the motions, and do as Sir Victor ordered, and I guarantee that there will be no problems. In Branch 191, both officers and sailors are discussing the relationship between Victor and Wood. Originally, they were all worried that something would go wrong, but now they all took reassurance. Victor's background is there. Marineford was born and raised in the military second generation. The news quickly reached the ears of Hagen Rear Admiral, Marquis Charles and others. Hagen wanted to kick Victor out of South Blue. Now that he learned of Victor's relationship with Wood Vice Admiral, he has regretted it. He already knew Victor had connections. As a result, he also provoked Victor. Now Hagen has to worry about follow-up retaliation. Marquis Charlie and the others secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they held back and did not testify immediately. Otherwise, they will definitely lose their wife and lose their troops. The next day, Hagen Rear Admiral came to Victor on his own initiative. Hagen Rear Admiral brought a lot of people, and everyone brought a gift. Hagen Rear Admiral is here to apologize. Colonel Victor, I didn't know the weather conditions that day, so I blamed you, please forgive me. Hagen offered to apologize and sent a box containing special products. I can understand Hagen Rear Admiral's mood, Victor said with a smile, and he was not polite, and accepted the box. The moment I caught the box, I felt that the box was heavy. It's definitely not an ordinary specialty. Commodore, Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, Major and other officers behind Hagen Rear Admiral also presented gifts. Hagen Rear Admiral and others stayed in Victor's office for a while, and then left. After Hagen and others left, Victor opened the box. Pastries wrapped in oiled paper are placed on the surface of the box, and gold bars are placed under the pastries. The gold in this box has at least 10 million Baileys. After opening the boxes of other people, they also found brand new cash. Victor took out all the money and opened his safe. When the safe was opened, the space inside was almost filled with money. There are many similar safes in Victor. As a time traveler, he can empathize with the words of 3 years to clear the magistrate, 100,000 snowflake silver. The reason why he didn't stay in the headquarters was because there were too few opportunities to make money in the headquarters. Unlike in South Blue, the sky is high and the emperor is far. In his own jurisdiction, he is the ruler, and his word is the law. After learning of Victor's background, Hagen Rear Admiral took the initiative to apologize, and at the same time sent a gift. He also took the initiative to withdraw the report. Marquis Charles and other nobles and businessmen also came to give gifts to stabilize the relationship with Victor. They didn't want to provoke Victor anymore, and they were all afraid of Victor's revenge. No one came out to testify, and it was impossible to prove that Victor was extorting and blackmailing. As for violating military orders and delaying fighter planes, the 189 branch was destroyed. Because the 191 branch had the same caliber, they all claimed that it was the cause of the storm, which prevented them from rushing to Wilhelm Harbor in time for reinforcements. As for the sale of arms, that is even more nonsense. The investigation team inspected the warehouse and found a large number of weapons. They can already confirm that Victor is innocent. Wood and Victor take a stroll on the beach. Under the afterglow of the setting sun, the ground is golden. Time flies so fast, it's been 10 years in a flash, Wood said with emotion. Yeah. Victor responded lightly. 10 years ago, your parents and I guarded the Valley of the Gods. Although we finally guarded the Valley of the Gods, they sacrificed. Wood again talked about what happened 10 years ago. However, Victor is not sad at all. As a time traveler, it is also the soul of an adult. Therefore, he doesn't have much affection for his parents in this life. Wood raised his hand and patted Victor's shoulder. Come back to the headquarters early, become a better Marine than your parents, and carry out your justice. Well, I will. Victor pretended to be taught. Wood smiled with satisfaction. He believed Victor would make a good soldier. Because Victor's parents died for justice, justice will be passed down. Wood firmly believes in this. At this time, a colonel ran over. The colonel was Wood's adjutant. The colonel handed the facts to Wood. Wood Vice Admiral, the facts from this department. After reading the contents of the facts, Wood said to Victor, the department asked me to return immediately. Victor said, Wood uncle, I have prepared some South Blue specialties, you can take them back for me to the uncle and aunt in this department. After hearing this, Wood said with relief, they will definitely like it very much. In Wood's eyes, Victor is a sensible child. Missing the fighter? Extortion? Reselling arms? How could Victor do such a thing? Pure slander. Victor was at the port, and after watching Wood Vice Admiral leave, he said to Lieutenant Colonel Marta, contact the arms dealer and ask them to take away the arms stored in Curry. Victor had known for a long time that he would be investigated. Therefore, instead of selling weapons, he kept a self-certified innocence. Now that the investigation team has left, there is no need to keep those weapons. Selling them all and exchanging them for cash is the right decision. Victor is also not sure how long he can stay at South Blue. If they are transferred away suddenly, all the money can be taken away. Wood's investigation report was handed over to Sengoku by Wood himself. The report is 200 pages long. The subjects of the investigation were 100 Marines from Branch 191, 15 nobles and 40 merchants from the Kingdom of Talos. After reading the report, Sengoku did not doubt the authenticity of the content. He believed that Wood was investigating seriously. However, Victor grew up with a maturity and shrewdness far beyond his peers. If Victor wanted to fool Wood, that was easy too. Therefore, Sengoku does not believe that the investigative report can prove everything. Of course, Sengoku didn't bother to delve into it. Although Branch 189 lost 3,000 sailors, Victor also wiped out the Black Pirates and removed a cancer for South Blue. The newspapers these days are extolling the greatness of Marine. Justice has been proclaimed, and the evil party has been sanctioned. The result is good. Sengoku is not only a tactical master, but also a grandmaster strategy. In his opinion, even if Victor has some selfishness, it doesn't hurt. At this time, Suru walked into Sengoku's office. Sengoku took out Victor's information, put it on the table, and said, 10 years ago, after the Valley of the Gods incident, we lost a lot of elite forces, which caused us to lose control of New World. However, Zephyr gave us hope. A. Crane saw Victor's information. You want to send Victor to New World. Sengoku hummed and did not deny. Sakazuki, Peluzalino, and Victor. The strength of the three of them is recognized by Zephyr. Now Sakazuki and Peluzalino are active in New World, constantly accumulating experience. They are the future of Marine. I hope Victor is too, and Victor needs more experience. In Sengoku's eyes, Victor is an important combat power of the future Marine. He has decided to train Victor as a substitute for Admiral. Crane asked worriedly. Do you think Victor will follow the arrangement? I'll guide him. Sengoku was confident. Although he was in Marineford, he got more information, which gave him a better understanding of Victor. He murmured. If he can really obey the arrangement, then it will be a good thing. Branch 191, Victor's office. It's gold that always shines, and I want to make a few more years of money in South Blue. Victor muttered to himself. Just now, Victor received a fax from Naval Headquarters. The department is going to transfer Victor back to Marineford. However, during this year, he also made a lot of money, so it was not in vain. Of course, Victor couldn't give up South Blue's foundation. In his eyes, South Blue was a cash machine. Victor decided to recommend Lieutenant Colonel Marta as his successor, so that Branch 191 could continue to make money in the Talos Kingdom, and he could seek benefits behind the scenes. After a few days, Leinster Pier. On a warship, the sailors were busy moving a large number of safes onto the ship. These safes contained gold, silver and jewels, as well as large amounts of cash. After the last safe was on board, Lieutenant Colonel Marta boarded the ship and counted the number. After confirming that it was correct, he came to Victor. "Master Victor, your luggage has already been loaded on board." Victor smoked a cigarette and patted Lieutenant Colonel Marta on the shoulder. "When I arrive at the headquarters, I will recommend you to be the colonel of Branch 191. If you encounter any trouble, please send a fax to the headquarters at any time, and I will help you solve it." "Thank you, Sir Victor." Lieutenant Colonel Marta looked at Victor gratefully. Victor said seriously, "The parting is only temporary. When I am in a high position and have real power in my hands, you can all come back to me." Lieutenant Colonel Marta said sincerely, "I will definitely not let down Lord Victor's support." Before Victor came to the 191st branch, Lieutenant Colonel Marta was just a captain officer. Because there is no background, Marta has never been promoted. However, Victor selected him, and in less than a year, Marta was promoted from captain to lieutenant colonel. Now that Victor is leaving, he has to recommend Marta to be promoted to colonel. This is the grace of regeneration. Victor said in Lieutenant Colonel Marta's ear, "Take good care of our site. I will do a lot of things in the future, and I will need money." "Master Victor, don't worry, your subordinates will definitely complete the task." Lieutenant Colonel Marta stood up straight and assured Victor. "Yeah." Victor was satisfied. His reason for reusing Marta is simple. Because Marta was born in South Blue's recruit battalion, with no background and no strength, she was promoted to the rank of captain with her own enthusiasm. However, Marta has been a captain for 5 years and has never been promoted again. Because the promotion of Marine only depends on 2 points. One is strength, and the other is background. If you have the strength, you can play anywhere. For example, after the Summit War, the Marine World conscripts directly selected Green Bull and Fujitora as Marine Admiral. Not to mention the background. Smoker defied military orders many times and was promoted to Vice Admiral of G5. Therefore, Marta is loyal to Victor. Because without Victor, he wouldn't be able to get up in his life. As for you. At this time, Victor looked at the officers and lieutenant officers who had been single-handedly promoted by him, and said, "I will also recommend you. After I return to the headquarters, you will all be promoted." Long live Lord Victor. The school and lieutenant officers of the 191 branch shouted in unison. "Even if I leave, the benefits will remain the same." Victor said to the sailors of branch 191, "Long live Lord Victor. Long live Lord Victor. Long live Lord Victor." The sailors shouted collectively. As long as there is a chance to get promoted and make a fortune, low-level sailors are willing to give loyalty. What's more, their lives have improved after following Victor for a year. As for justice, Fudge recruit is okay. As long as you have been a soldier for a few years, you will understand the darkness of the world government. And justice is but a hypocritical slogan of the world government. Is it worth going through life and death for a hypocritical slogan? Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Victor came outside Sengoku's office. Report. Victor gave a military salute. "Come in." Sengoku's voice came from the office. Victor opened the door to the office and walked in. At this point, Sengoku tore up an abandoned document and fed it to the goat at his feet. Sengoku looked at Victor and said, "You did a good job at South Blue." Victor stood expressionless. "Sit down." Sengoku invited Victor to come to the sofa. Victor was also polite, and sat on the sofa. Sengoku picked up the fruit biscuits that Victor sent, and said while eating, "Do you know why I called you back?" Victor replied, "I don't know for now." Sengoku didn't hide it either, he said straight to the point. "I want to send you to New World, and you also need more tempering." Yes. Victor was not surprised. He didn't deliberately hide his strength. Moreover, his cultivation talent is very high, and Zephyr appreciates Victor very much. In the 2 years after Victor graduated, he was an intern in the first half of the Grand Line in the first year, and in the branch of South Blue in the second year. This made Zephyr quite dissatisfied, and felt that he was overqualified. Therefore, whether it is Zephyr or Sengoku, Victor will be reused sooner or later. Sengoku smiled and said, let's go to the G5 branch first. Yes. Victor replied. Sengoku looked at Victor and said, your subordinates in branch 191 will all get promoted. Victor was surprised, but not surprised. As the resourceful general, Sengoku is best at collecting intelligence. Therefore, he can conclude from the investigation report of Wood Vice Admiral that Victor is very serious about running branch 191. As for the intention, of course it is to cultivate one's own people. People are selfish, and it is normal to cultivate confidence. Therefore, Sengoku simply acted as a favor, and at the same time, sent a message to Victor. I will take care of you in the future. I thank Sengoku uncle for them, Victor thanked. Even if Sengoku doesn't help, Victor can still find other uncles and aunts in the headquarters. However, Sengoku is Admiral now, and will be Marshal in the future. He needs Sengoku's help if he wants to be promoted to Admiral. The G1 branch and the G5 branch are the only two directly affiliated branches of naval headquarters located in New World. Both the G1 branch and the G5 branch have one thing in common. They each have 2 vice admirals and 4 rear admirals. They have a total of 10,000 elite sailors and 10 large warships. Because they are pirates facing the New World, both the G1 branch and the G5 branch are the top-level combat readiness and the most elite sailors. Victor takes a boat to the Holy Land of Mariajoy, then crosses Mariajoy, and changes boats to the G1 branch. From the G1 branch, go to the G5 branch. At this time, the warship on which Victor is traveling is on its way to Mariajoy. Victor came out of the cabin and was going to get some air on the deck. Is it Senior Victor? Suddenly, a man's voice sounded from behind Victor. Victor turned around and looked at the young man behind him. The young man had an excited smile on his face and admiration in his eyes. You are? Victor looked at the young man suspiciously. The young man first gave a military salute, and then replied, Colonel Victor, I am also the second student of Mr. Zephyr. My name is Wright. I just graduated this year and I am doing an internship on the ship of Vice Admiral Garp. I did not expect to meet the senior here. What a shame. Very lucky. Victor, Sakazuki, and Paluzolino are Zephyr's first students. Victor looked at Wright and said with a smile, how is Mr. Zephyr? I haven't seen him for a year. Wright said, Teacher Zephyr is in good health. He often mentions the seniors to us, and let us learn from the seniors. Victor said with a smile, Mr. Zephyr always praises me, I will be proud. Wright said in admiration, Teacher Zephyr said that you can learn any physical skill as long as you have seen it once. You are a genius among geniuses, and among all his students, you are the first to master hockey. Especially you develop your 6-style combat skills are particularly practical. And the record you left during school, no one can break now. Wright was eloquent, acting like a little fanboy. However, this is not surprising. Victor Grandmaster Taijutsu and hockey, and he has been practicing very hard since he was a child. In Zephyr's eyes, Victor is not only talented but also hard-working, a model for the students and Zephyr's pride. Victor encouraged. As long as you maintain your enthusiasm and practice, you can be like me. Yes. Wright got the encouragement from his idol and was naturally delighted. Then go ahead. I'll go to the deck to get some air. After Victor finished speaking, he turned and left. Card Victor and others came to the G1 branch base. At this time, 2 vice admirals from the G1 branch were already waiting for them in the military port. Victor, haven't seen you in a while. The first vice admiral to speak is Boris, who is 57 years old this year. The vice admiral behind Boris is called Cliff, who is 49 years old this year. Victor took the initiative to greet Boris and Cliff. Boris uncle, Cliff uncle. Boris asked suspiciously. I heard you went to South Blue. Why were you transferred to the G5 branch again? Victor explained. It's the arrangement of Sengoku uncle, he thinks I need more training. Yeah, Sengoku did the right thing this time. Boris nodded in agreement. There is no reason to send the elite of the headquarters to South Blue. Isn't that overkill? Although Victor did violate military discipline, Boris didn't think it was a big problem. Who has never been young and vigorous? At this time, Victor saw many familiar faces. One of them is Akainu. However, Akainu has not yet been given a codename. It should be called Sakazuki. Sakazuki is wearing a red half-sleeved shirt with a marine cap and carries a long knife behind his back. The current Sakazuki has not acquired the ability of lava fruit yet. The other is Paluzolino. Paluzolino wears a yellow shirt, white vest, and a marine hat. Besides, Huashaoshan, Ghost Spider and others were ignored by Victor. Victor was also seen by Sakazuki and Paluzolino among others. Sakazuki was expressionless. A trace of curiosity flashed in Paluzolino's eyes. Originally, Victor would be sent to New World for an internship just like them after graduation. However, Victor remained in the first half of the Grand Line. Today, so many young people with potential are gathered together, which means that Marine has made a big move. During dinner, Victor was in the restaurant and saw the trio of Sakazuki, Ghost Spider, and Doberman sitting together forever. Both Ghost Spider and Doberman agree with Sakazuki's justice. Sakazuki's justice is thorough justice, he will wipe out all the villains in the world. This kind of absolute hawkish justice naturally has no shortage of followers. The trio was in the restaurant, though, a little out of sorts. Because Huashaoshan, Jimir and others sit in the central area with Rear Admiral, Commodore, and field officers. They have Sengoku's minions, Zephyr's minions, Garp's minions, and Crane's minions. In the past, Sengoku, Zephyr, Garp, and Crane were comrades in arms, and their subordinates were grouped together, which was equivalent to a faction. Especially Zephyr. Zephyr is famous all over the world for do not kill, so this faction is relatively moderate, and it is the Dove faction of Marine. Victor glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw Paluzolino sitting alone in the corner, so he walked over with the dinner plate. Paluzolino ate the curry to himself, and was a little surprised when Victor sat down. "Is it convenient to sit here?" Victor asked with a smile. "As you wish," Paluzolino said indifferently. "Thank you then." Victor picked up a chicken nugget, dipped it in sweet and spicy sauce, and ate it leisurely. At this time, Wright walked into the restaurant. He had just finished ordering and was looking for a seat when he saw Victor. When Wright saw Victor, he immediately patted the people around him. Senior Victor is over there. Like Wright, the young people around him are also Victor's little fans. Senior, his name is Connor. Wright introduced the young people around him to Victor. Connor scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "Senior, your 6 forms of cultivation experience has helped me a lot." When Victor was in the military academy, he wrote 2 books, 6 Forms of Derivative Techniques, and 6 Forms of Practice. After reading it, Zephyr praised Victor and promoted the 2 books in the military academy. In particular, Victor's juniors have basically read these 2 books, and all of them have benefited a lot. 6 forms is difficult for ordinary people, let alone grandmasters. It's even harder to get a grandmaster. And Victor wrote down his cultivation experience directly, saving Wright and others from many detours. In the eyes of Wright and others, Victor is too selfless and great. Victor smiled and said, "You're welcome, if it can help you, then it's worth it." "Senior, can we sit next to you?" Wright asked carefully. "Of course." Victor nodded in agreement. Wright and Connor sat at a nearby table. They were in a great mood and it was great to have dinner with their idols. Paluzolino ate by himself, and he couldn't help thinking. So this is the purpose of his writing the book, and he really shouldn't be underestimated. Paluzolino and Victor are classmates. When Victor wrote 6 Forms of Derivative Techniques, and 6 Forms of Practice, the students thought that Victor was trying to show off. I didn't expect these 2 books to have such a big influence. For monsters like Paluzolino and Sakazuki, 6 Forms of Derivative Techniques, and 6 Forms of Cultivation Experience, did not help them much. Victor smiled and asked Paluzolino, "Haven't you been promoted to the rank of colonel in 2 years?" Paluzolino frowned. Is this guy finding fault? Paluzolino and Sakazuki are now majors. Although Paluzolino was a little upset, he still joked. "You should write another, how to raise your military rank quickly, which may help me." Victor thought about it, then nodded and said, "It's a good idea. I'll write a book when I'm free." Victor looked at Wright and Connor. "I hope it can help you too." "Senior, is it true?" The eyes of Wright and Connor were full of expectation. In their view, Victor's knowledge and experience are priceless. "Yeah." Victor stretched out his hand and patted Wright on the shoulder. "Let's work hard together." Yeah. Wright and Connor nodded at the same time. Seeing this, Paluzolino couldn't bear it. He can't do the same. The warship departed from the G1 branch and went to Temi Island where the G5 branch was located. The commander responsible for leading the team this time is Kalov Rear Admiral. Kalov Rear Admiral once served as Sengoku's adjutant and won Sengoku's trust. After sailing for 3 days and 3 nights, the marine soldiers on the mast used binoculars to observe several pirate ships, and they could confirm the identity of each other through the pirate flags on the mast. The sea soldier shouted downwards, "I found the flying pirates." The colonel and lieutenant officers on the deck immediately ran to the side of the ship and observed with binoculars. "It's really them. There are still a lot of them. These guys are really arrogant, don't they hide when they see us? Damn, they are provoking us." Through the binoculars, Wright found that the pirates were waving in the direction of the warship, and some even stood on the side of the ship and peed in the direction of the warship. Soon, Kalov Rear Admiral, who was in charge of the escort mission, also came to the deck. Kalov looked serious and asked, "Is the Golden Lion on the other side too?" "The Priya has not been found yet," Robert Rear Admiral replied. Golden Lion's main ship, the Playa, is easily recognizable by its large Golden Lion's head on its prow. Kalov Rear Admiral looked at the fast-moving pirate ship and said sullenly, "This guy is still as arrogant as ever." Although the Rocks pirates are destroyed, the remnants of the Rocks pirates are rising rapidly. Whitebeard established the Whitebeard pirates, Big Mom established the Nations, Kaido established the Beasts pirates, and Golden Lion established the Flying pirates. Especially the Golden Lion and the Air pirates. At present, the Flying pirates have the largest number of pirate ships in New World, and the largest number of personnel, so they are most qualified to be the overlord. Sakazuki looked at the Flying pirates coldly. He has seen this kind of provocation many times in New World in the past 2 years. However, he couldn't respond. The senior management of Marine, or the senior management of the world government, seems to have other plans and is very gentle towards pirates. Therefore, Sakazuki has now learned to be silent. He knows he has no say. Victor watched Sakazuki's reaction. No wonder Sakazuki will become more and more self-closing in the next few years. The tempering in New World not only allowed him to gain more combat experience, but also taught Sakazuki to forbear. And his personality has also become like an extinct volcano, seemingly calm, but in fact, can erupt with destructive energy at any time. As for Peluzalino, Victor found Peluzalino yawning. It seems that he is used to it and knows how to adapt. Victor looked at Huashaoshan and the others. Their expressions were very calm, and they obviously got used to it. Only young graduates such as Wright and Connor clenched their fists and sulked. The purpose of their joining the army is to destroy the pirates. However, the pirates were right in front of them, but they were left alone, which was completely different from what they expected. At this time, Victor said to Kalov, "Can I attack them?" Wright and Connor looked at Victor with anticipation and admiration. They wanted Kalov to say yes. Kalov looked at Victor, still shook his head and said, "That kind of thing doesn't make sense. The distance between the two sides has exceeded the maximum range of the naval gun. Moreover, the Golden Lion is about to become the overlord of the New World. If you provoke them, it will bring the Golden Lion's revenge." Victor responded lightly. He didn't show any dissatisfaction, nor was he disappointed. Soon, the Flying pirates accelerated their sailing, leaving the warship behind. After the Flying pirates left, Kalov and others left the deck and returned to the cabin. Wright and Connor came to Victor's side. Wright said unhappily, "I really want to wipe out all these scumbags." Connor is not very talkative, but he is also very depressed now. Seeing the pirate leaving arrogantly in front of his eyes really made him extremely angry. Victor put his hands on the railing, looked at the sea and said, "After I gain power, I will make the world clean." "Well, we trust the senior." Wright and Connor looked at Victor's back, and did not doubt Victor's words. This moment, Victor was writing hard in the room, his experience in writing, how to quickly promote military rank. From recruit to colonel, Victor wrote his thoughts and experiences into the book. Promoting yourself is a very important and very rewarding thing to do. Victor wants to build his own faction and partisans in his own way, and gradually increase his influence in Marine. Tuk tuk. There was a knock on the door. "The door is unlocked, come in," Victor said casually. Wright and Connor opened the door and walked in. Victor said calmly, "Wait a moment, it's almost finished." Wright and Connor glanced at each other, and then their eyes fell on the table. Victor wrote a stack of manuscripts, at least dozens of pages. After Victor put down his pen, he handed the original manuscript of How to Raise the Military Rank Quickly to Wright and Connor. I hope it can help you. This is. Wright and Connor couldn't help but widen their eyes after seeing the content on the paper. Victor said to the two, "This is my promotion experience, which can be used as a reference. I hope it will be helpful to you." "Senior, you've been writing it these few nights." Wright had already noticed Victor's dark circles. Victor said indifferently, "What I promised, I must do it." "Thank you, Senior." Connor said gratefully. He could tell from the manuscript that Victor was writing with great care, sharing his own experiences and insights. Especially the article about getting along with superiors, Victor wrote it very specifically. Victor said, "Okay, take it back and read it. The first year of the internship is very important. I hope you can seize the opportunity. After you finish reading it, remember to make a few more copies of it. Maybe it can help more people. Let them not be confused." "Yeah, we will." Wright and Connor left with the manuscript as if they had found a treasure. Temi Island, Marine Base of G5 Branch. As the gate of the fort slowly rose, the warship slowly entered the fort. The marine here looks like a pirate no matter what. At this time, the interns on the deck looked at the sailors in the port with curious eyes. On the heads of these sailors, they are either wrapped with marine logo hoods, or painted with marine logos on their cloaks. Even so, the image of these sailors is full of hooliganism, and they don't look like soldiers at all. After the warship stopped, Kalav Rear Admiral was the first to disembark. Kalav Rear Admiral salutes Tucker Vice Admiral. His job is done. Next, the recruited potential newcomers and interns will face cruel training in the G5 branch. Checklist. Tucker Vice Admiral is a very careful person. Although all the sailors in the G5 branch are like hooligans, as the commander of the fortress, Tucker Vice Admiral can't be careless. If any pirate sneaks into the fortress, poisons the fortress, or creates an explosion, it will be a heavy blow to the G5 branch. After all, the G5 branch is isolated in New World. Once something happens, he can only face it alone, and the support from the headquarters will be a few days later at the earliest. At this point, a Commodore began checking the names on the list. Colonel Victor, Major Sakazuki, Major Paluzolino, Major Huashaoshan. Following Commodore's roll call, Victor and others responded one by one. After confirming that the number of people is complete, Tucker Vice Admiral said to Kalav Rear Admiral, "You can go back." Yes. Kalav Rear Admiral turned and returned to the warship. The G5 branch does not have the etiquette of holding a banquet to see them off. Because the G5 branch will be dispatched at any time, and will participate in the battle at any time. The G5 branch is a mobile force, and they have one mission. Carry out special tasks in accordance with the orders of the ministry. As for the protection of allied countries and civilians, if there is no order from the headquarters, none of them can do it. It is precisely because of the particularity of G5 that the sailors of G5 have a very strong personality. Some grassroots officers and veterans are all veterans and veterans. They do their own way and don't take Marines' military regulations seriously. At this time, Victor has already lived in the officers' quarters. The dormitory is a bit dirty, the tables are covered with dust, there are cobwebs on the windows, and there are dirty bandages in the trash can. Before Victor could find orderlies to come in for sanitation, sirens suddenly sounded in the marine fortress. The whistle of beep beep. Not far from the dormitory, some officers started blowing whistles to gather soldiers. Victor and the others all came out of the dormitory. Ready to go. "Come on, move on, you bloody bastards. Didn't you eat? Or are your legs weak? You drained waste." The officers scolded the sailors with their vulgar words, and under their urging, the sailors quickly boarded the warship. The rookies who just arrived today, all come here. At this time, a rear admiral with a poker face in his 40s greeted Victor and others. Regardless of the rank of Victor et al., the G5 branch will always only have the difference between rookie and veteran. Victor and others followed Rear Admiral and boarded a warship. "Where are we going?" Huashaoshan asked. Rear Admiral glanced at Huashaoshan, and then said coldly, "Rookie, you can either do 2,000 push-ups, or go to the confinement room for 3 days." Huashaoshan froze for a moment, then shouted, "Yes," loudly, and started doing push-ups. Rear Admiral walked back and forth in front of Victor and the others, reminding. From now on, don't ask where to go, you just need to know how to obey orders and execute them. Answer. Yes. Yes. Victor and the others responded in unison. Rear Admiral said calmly, welcome to the world of monsters. The new world is a brutal place. Due to the problem of the magnetic field, many areas of New World have bad weather and cannot produce enough food. In order to survive, young people go to sea as pirates. Pirates attacking countries, pirates attacking pirates, and even pirates attacking marines often happen. It's like raising GU. The strength of the New World pirates is getting stronger and stronger. In order to fight against the New World pirates, the marine of the G5 branch is also different from other branches. They have to be more like pirates than pirates, more ferocious and cunning than pirates, in order to defeat pirates and survive in the dangerous New World. With the gates of the fort open, 3 warships left the fort. The commander of this mission is Nun Vice Admiral. Nun Vice Admiral is 46 years old and in the prime of his life. He has served in the G5 branch for 11 years, and has been on the verge of death many times. The mission this time is to capture a pirate named Jonathan. Jonathan is currently offering a reward of 360 million. In C Circle Calendar 1494, the reward of 360 million was not a small amount. As for why the headquarters is in a hurry to catch Jonathan, that's not what Nun needs to care about. He has never liked to use his brain to think about too complicated things, and just carry out the task. The warships soon arrived at the destination, Helenson Island. Helenson Island is Jonathan's territory, and he has been entrenched on Helenson Island for nearly 2 years. All along, New World's turf has been fiercely contested. Being able to hold onto the territory for 2 years means that Jonathan is indeed capable. Under the night. Off the coast of Helenson Island, the lights of the 3 warships were extinguished, and the landing craft had been quietly lowered. The pirates on the island never expected to be raided at night. At this time, the pirates were drinking, playing cards and singing by the campfire. They did this every night, enjoying freedom and joy. Jonathan sat in a chair, closed his eyes and rested. There is only one task today, to catch Jonathan. At this time, Nun came to the side of the ship, and in front of Victor and others, he gave them combat missions. Under the cover of night, Marine quietly approached the beach in a landing craft, gently paddling the oars. The pirates on the beach are still drinking, gambling, and singing. Until one of the minions was going to pee on the beach. Boom. With a gunshot. The pirate minion was shot between the eyebrows and fell down in the bunker. The gunshot sounded, and the marine of the G5 branch began to accelerate towards the island. Enemy attack. Wake up. The gunshots on the beach woke up the pirates. The pirate quickly picked up the weapon beside him. Although the enemy came very suddenly, Jonathan and his group were able to occupy Helenson Island for 2 years, which meant that they had experienced many battles. Jonathan opened his eyes, his cold eyes were filled with murderous intent. Is there anyone who is not afraid of death? Jonathan muttered to himself, then he held 2 maces in both hands and stood up. Jonathan is nearly 8 meters tall, and the 2 maces are 5 meters long and weigh 3 tons each. However, not long after Jonathan stood up, a lazy voice came from behind him. You'd better not go anywhere, Victor said calmly. After hearing Victor's words, Jonathan turned around and looked at Victor coldly. Do you want to be smashed into meat paste? At the same time, the battle between Marines and pirates has begun. Led by the bosses, the pirates are fighting back. There are more than 2,000 pirates on the island. The Marine sent by the G5 branch has 3,000 people. In terms of strength, Marine has the upper hand. However, Jonathan and his gang have a geographical advantage. The forest on the island has been transformed, and in some places with higher terrain, the pirates have set up towers. Cannons are erected on the tower, and there are still shooting holes. Bang! Bang! Boom! The shells fell at their feet, and the sailors were blasted into the sky, and then fell heavily on the beach. Never mind the fallen. Rush to the island. The veterans of the G5 branch shouted. Even so, there are still recruits trying to rescue their companions. However, when they rescued their companions, they became the targets of pirate snipers. Pirate snipers are very cunning. They did not shoot the rescue recruits, but aimed at the legs of the sailors, making them immobile. To save a wounded sailor, at least 2 healthy sailors are required. Damn it. Wright, Connor and others were fresh graduates, and it was their first time experiencing such a scene. However, with their blood and passion, they still rushed to the front of the team and fought with the pirates on the island. More and more pirates fell at the feet of the two. Before they knew it, Wright and Connor had defeated nearly 100 pirates one after another. Therefore, the two of them attracted a lot of attention. For example, the leader of Jonathan's command, Big Shield Lore. Big Shield Lore, who is more than 6 meters tall, has a reward of 170 million Baileys. Lore's weapon is a metal shield taller than others. Lol will use the shield to resist any attack, and will also smash all enemies to pieces against the shield. At this time, Lore started to accelerate with the shield in his hands. He took a big step, and the speed was extremely fast. As he sprinted, all the Marines in front of him were knocked into the air. Reiner, Conte and others hurriedly escaped. Just Luo'er's aura made them understand that they were invincible. And those Marine soldiers who were unfortunately knocked down fell to the ground one by one and died on the spot. Ha ha ha. Lore laughed out loud, not paying attention to the Marines at all. Little devil, you are very strong. Lore attacked the two of them again. Connor didn't dare to be careless. After avoiding the impact of the shield, he raised his foot and kicked hard. Tempest Kick Javelin. Connor gathered the strength of the kick when he kicked out the slash, and kicked violently towards the enemy. The Tempest Kick slash he shot was like a javelin, and it hit the shield fiercely. Connor is confident in his Tempest Kick, however, he underestimated the hardness of Lol's shield. Lol's shield is made of special metal, indestructible. Finger pistol diamond crushed. Seeing this, Wright approached at high speed continuously with a razor. Afterwards, he concentrated all his strength on his right index finger, and the hardened finger released a blow between lightning and flint. Fingertips have terrifying destructive power. Zephyr once said that Victor once shattered a diamond with one finger. However, Wright's finger pistol has not been refined yet. Wright. Connor rushed to Jonathan with the knife in both hands. There are more and more little ghosts who don't know how to live or die. Luo'er sneered ferociously, and then threw out another stick. The shield hit Connor's face directly. Connor held the knife in both hands, trying to block it, but the blade in his hand shattered. How much longer can you laugh? Holding two knives, the ghost spider rushed towards Luo'er. Just before the ghost spider approached, a saber light passed by. The ghost spider held the knife and stood in front of him. However, the ghost spider was still sent flying, and its feet slid on the ground for a certain distance before barely standing still. The response is quick. At this time, a man covered in bandages appeared in front of the ghost spider. The bandaged man held a knife in each hand and said coldly, "Zombie sword hero Rex, offering a reward of 190 million Baileys. However, how many knives can you block today?" When Rex spoke, he swung his two knives again and attacked the ghost spider. When the ghost spider was about to use life return, Rex suddenly stopped and turned sideways to resist. When, with everyone watching, Sakazuki slashed at Rex with his sword. One sword against two swords. Rex held on to the double knives and persisted. He secretly groaned, knowing that Sakazuki's power was above him. And the strength of Sakazuki and Ghost Spider is obviously not at the same level. Does Marine still like to play more with less? Then, another icy voice sounded. A black-skinned murloc full of fangs appeared in front of Marine. The Black Mermaid Yusure has a reward of 210 million Baileys. Yusure is good at murloc karate and also masters hockey. Encountering Yusure at sea is definitely a nightmare. Hey, let me play with you. Suddenly, Paluzolino walked in front of Yusure. Yusure looked at Major Marine in front of him, saw that he was acting like a fool, and didn't pay attention to Paluzolino. The only thing missing is Jonathan. None Vice Admiral observed, but after waiting for a while, Jonathan didn't show up. The center of Harrison Island. Huh. Jonathan swung two maces, and every time he swung, there was a whistling sound of wind. However, no matter how he attacks, he can't touch Victor. Who are you? Jonathan looked serious. He was surprised that he failed to hit Victor once with Grandmaster Observation Hockey and Armament Hockey. It's normal for Jonathan to be skeptical. The number of Marine Rear Admiral and Commodore killed by him also reached double digits. As for field officers such as colonels and lieutenant colonels, the number is even greater. However, Victor, a mere colonel, was able to easily escape his attack. Moreover, Victor is still so young, it's just unbelievable. Victor asked with a smile, shouldn't I have such strength at my age? Jonathan frowned, and Victor expressed his confusion. Let me tell you a secret. Victor wrapped his hands around armament hockey, and then said to Jonathan, I never feel that I am weaker than anyone, even when facing Roger and Garp. After Jonathan listened, his first reaction was not to question. He too was taken aback by his own reaction. However, Jonathan calmed down and said, Boy, although you are very strong, this is new world. After speaking, Jonathan's body changed. He actually grew horns, his face became a bull's head, and his height increased from 8 meters to more than 12 meters. Zone ox fruit, bison form. Jonathan was able to rule Harrenson Island not only because of the strength of his cadres, but also because of his own strength. In addition to body bestialization, Jonathan also started covering his whole body with armament hockey. What? With a low growl, Jonathan swung the mace in his hand and slammed it hard at Victor. He is so powerful that he can sink a warship with one stick. Faced with the mace hitting him, Victor didn't dodge this time. I saw the iron fist entangled with armament hockey directly blasting towards the mace. Bang! Victor's fist landed hard on the mace. The moment it hit the mace, a terrifying shockwave spread out. Boom rumble, the ground was shattered, and the surrounding trees fell back in pieces. Zzz, armament hockey rubbed violently. On the huge bull's head, the bull's eyes were bloodshot, and he clenched his gums tightly, trying to output his own strength as much as possible. However, no matter how hard Jonathan tried, he still couldn't suppress Victor. Victor asked calmly, is this your best effort? Cow demon smashing mountain strike. Jonathan swung another mace again and smashed it hard at Victor. Boom. After the mace hit the ground, it made a big hole in the ground. The sky was filled with smoke and dust, and the naked eye could no longer see the situation in the dust and fog. Only observation hockey is still locked on Victor. Behind. Jonathan immediately turned around and slammed hard behind him. Earthquake. Another powerful blow. Boom. This blow hits the air again. In an instant, Victor appeared in front of Jonathan, raised his foot and kicked his leg hard. The high whip kick hit Jonathan's cheek, and his entire face was deformed directly. Jonathan was kicked out like a cannonball. Boom, boom, boom. Jonathan's body was flying in the forest, smashing into pieces of trees continuously, and didn't stop until his body was embedded in a mountain wall. However, before Jonathan climbed out of the mountain wall, Victor had already chased him. He stepped on moonwalk and quickly chased to the front of the mountain wall. Shatter the sky. Victor raised his hand and pressed his palm to Jonathan's chest. Wrapping armament hockey's palm, pouring armament hockey into Jonathan's body. Moments later, the entire mountain exploded, burying Jonathan under the rock. After Victor solved Jonathan, he went back to find Nun and others. Sure enough, it was exactly what Victor thought. Today's battle is well orchestrated. The person in charge of writing the script, of course, is Sengoku. Jonathan and the pirates under his command are the whetstones of Marine, responsible for honing the new generation of naval headquarters. At this time, Nun watched the battle from a distance and did not intervene in the battle. This is the order Sengoku gave him. However, the performance of the newcomers is indeed very good. Hua Shaoshan, Ghost Spider, Doberman and others now join forces to besiege Lore, while Wright, Connor and others retreat to the side. Even the seniors, is it difficult to take him down? Wright covered his mouth. He had just been hit by a shield, and suddenly felt his blood churning and his internal organs shifting. Connor's gaze was looking for Victor everywhere, but he couldn't find Victor, so he could only cast his gaze on Sakazuki. I heard that Sakazuki, Paluzolino, and Victor are tied for monsters among Mr. Zephyr's first class of students. Sakazuki confronted Rex. Paluzolino's opponent is Usure. Bang. 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 Sakazuki swung the sword in his hand and slashed at Rex continuously. A knife is faster than a knife. Rex resisted one after another, the hand holding the knife felt numb. Monster. Rex looked at Sakazuki coldly with fear in his eyes. He knew very well that Sakazuki was much stronger than the Ghost Spider. Sakazuki calmly walked towards Rex with a blank face. Rex knew that the enemy was very powerful, so he didn't dare to be careless. Sakazuki suddenly picked up speed and he started running. Seeing this, Rex swung his two knives, dual swordsmanship. Ashura Karma Fire. I saw that Rex's double swords were burning with flames, but when he slashed at Sakazuki, Sakazuki disappeared from him. So fast. Rex stood where he was, muttering. After a while, Rex's head rolled off his neck. The other side. Paluzolino and Usure face to face. Shawa Righteous Fist. USA Rayleigh used all his strength to punch Paluzolino hard on the cheek. Paluzolino tilted his head to avoid the attack, smashing a big tree in front of him with his punch, and sawdust flying all over the sky. Seeing that Paluzolino dodged the attack, Usure continued to attack. 5,000 tile roundhouse kick. Usure kicked Paluzolino hard with a roundabout kick that was powerful enough to split 5,000 tiles. Paluzolino raised his foot and kicked a side whip. Roundhouse kick and side whip kick together. Zzza. The armament hockey on the 2 feet rubbed violently, and the shock wave generated pushed away the marines and pirates fighting around. It's as strong as a monster. Paluzolino pretended to be scared. Damn bastard. Usure felt that his calf bone was about to split. Paluzolino's armament hockey is so hard. At this time, Paluzolino saw Sakazuki at the side from the corner of his eye, and knew that Sakazuki's battle was over. Tang Kawa Jungchuan. Usure also noticed Paluzolino's distraction, so he prepared to swing a forehand punch, generating shock waves in all directions 360 degrees. No matter how fast Paluzolino was, he couldn't dodge this blow. However, at the moment Usure swung his fist, Paluzolino leapt into the air and shot out the finger pistol. Call out! Call out! Call out! Flying finger pistol hit Usure's knee and arm joint solidly. In an instant, Usure lost his combat effectiveness. Hit every joint precisely. Is this the strength of a monster? None thought in his heart. At the same time, a crescent-shaped white slash pierced the sky and flew towards Lol. Lor turned around and hurriedly blocked with his shield. However, he was able to defend against the shield that Huashaoshan and others attacked together, but it was cut open by the crescent-shaped white slash. Nun and the others looked towards the sky. It's Victor. Senior Victor. Seeing Victor appear, Wright and Connor immediately lifted their spirits. Nun looked at Victor, and then at the direction where Victor appeared. Let's deal with Jonathan first. Nun thought to himself. At this moment, Lor's eyes widened and he looked down at his belly at the same time. He was slashed by the crescent slash kicked by Victor. How can that be? Lol looked ahead in disbelief. Although his strength is not the strongest within the Jonathan pirates, his defense is the strongest. Lol even blocks Pluton Rayleigh's slashing blows when confronted by the Roger pirates. Victor walked over calmly, each step giving Lol a sense of oppression. Lor dropped his shield while clenching his fists, his armor covering his whole body. What? With a loud roar, Luor gave himself courage through the roar. Lor and Victor are less than 100 meters apart. After a few big strides, Lor came to Victor. He stopped abruptly, clasped his hands tightly, and slammed a cannon punch at Victor below. Boom. There was only a loud noise, and the ground shook violently, and the dust and mist raised by the punch covered everyone's sight. At this moment, Sakazuki, Paluzolino and the others were all staring ahead. They already mastered hockey during their graduate practice. How strong is he? Paluzolino thought to himself. During their time in the military academy, Victor showed a terrifying talent, as well as terrifying strength. Although the names of Victor, Sakazuki, and Paluzolino are juxtaposed, they all exist like monsters. But Paluzolino thinks Victor is the real monster. Or rather, a monster among monsters. The smoke dissipated, and Victor calmly blocked Lowell's cannonball attack with only one hand. While Lowell's eyes were tearing apart, his teeth were grinning, and his veins were bulging all over his body. Obviously, Lor has tried his best. You did your best. Victor said calmly. As soon as the words fell, Luor felt a huge force, and his whole body was blown away. Rumble. Luor's body rolled continuously on the ground, smashing countless trees, rocks, and hills, and then stopped. Nun frowned tightly, his eyes hard to hide the shock. Originally he guessed that Sengoku wanted to hone Marine's new generation. However, after seeing the strength of Victor, Sakazuki, and Paluzolino, he seemed to understand Sengoku's intentions. This is not only tempered, but also to allow them to accumulate military exploits and prestige in a short period of time. This is training the three of them, especially Victor. At present, Victor has shown the strength of a monster. Under the horrified gaze of the crowd, Victor maintained his punching posture. He just sent Lure flying with his fist, and the flying distance exceeded 1,000 meters. This is too exaggerated. The battle is over. All that's left is to clean up the battlefield. The medical team began to treat the wounded, and Marine, who died in battle, was put into a body bag. Victor came to Wright, Connor and others. Wright suffered a broken left arm, 4 broken ribs, and damage to his heart, lungs, and liver. Connor's injury wasn't serious, but he needed a while to recuperate. "Are you all right?" Victor took the initiative to ask Wright and Connor. "A little injury." Wright wanted to get up, but was pushed back by the doctor. Victor said to Connor and the others, "Sweat more in normal times and bleed less in wartime. You need to practice harder." "Yes." Wright and Connor cheered up and answered loudly. Well, take a good rest. Only by taking good care of your body can you punish evil." After Victor finished speaking, he turned and left. "When will I be as powerful as Senior Victor?" Senior Victor's Tempest Kick just now is really amazing. I remember that move is called Crescent Moon Sky Chong. Well, I want to learn too, but it's so difficult. After Victor left, Wright and Connor started chatting about Victor's Tempest Kick. Tempest Kick Crescent Sky Chong. In 6 styles of practice, Victor believes that in order to practice aggressive physical arts such as finger pistol and Tempest Kick well, the premise is to temper the body into a weapon. When using kicking skills, the legs should be used as knives, and iron cutting should be used as the standard of practice. When the two were chatting about the 6-style practice, the soldiers finally found Jonathan. Jonathan is still alive. However, Jonathan's body was severely damaged. His internal organs were damaged, bones were broken, muscles were torn, and blood vessels were destroyed. Thanks to Jonathan for the Zone Demon Fruit power. Otherwise, Jonathan would surely die. When Jonathan was dragged to the beach by a group of sailors, none and others saw Jonathan's condition. Except for a heavy kick in the face, there are basically no trauma. However, the injury to the internal organs is very serious. After reading the inspection report, None looked at Victor. He was curious about how Victor did it. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Sengoku received a report from the G5 branch. The Jonathan pirates were wiped out. Jonathan, Lal the Great Shield, and Usure the Black Shark were captured alive, and the zombie Rex was beheaded. The number of pirates eliminated reached more than 1,600, and nearly 400 pirates were captured. This time the results were fruitful. However, Sengoku is more concerned about the performance of Victor, Sakazuki and Paluzolino. Actually, Nun's guess was correct. Sengoku asked Victor and others to go to the G5 branch, not only to train the three of them, but also to hope that the three of them could accumulate military exploits and prestige. In the coming decades, new generations like Victor will be the future of Marine. And Victor's performance also made Sengoku very satisfied. Nun's evaluation of Victor's strength is a monster. Now Victor is only 20 years old. Also, Victor hasn't eaten the devil fruit yet. How to train Victor and others to make Victor and others the strongest combat force in Marine. Sengoku needs to discuss with Sora and ask 5 elders for instructions. Sengoku believes that 5 elders will take this issue seriously. In the Marshal's office, the current Marine Marshal Sora is looking at the battle report submitted by Sengoku. This time, the task of capturing Jonathan alive was not an order issued by Sengoku privately. Sengoku isn't Garp, and won't do things that disgust his boss. After reading the battle report, Sora said, "I'll go find the 5 elders." The world government controls most of the devil fruit, and the agents directly under the Marine and world government are also constantly recycling devil fruit. However, in order to ensure safety, the world government needs to observe and test to ensure loyalty before providing devil fruit. The rarer and more powerful the devil fruit, the less you can go wrong. Otherwise, if there is an act of rebellion, the consequences will be disastrous. World government doesn't want to be backlashed by its own power. Holy Land Mariajoy. Pangu City, between the powers. When Kong walked in, the 5 elders were already waiting for him. The 5 elders sit from left to right, they are the supreme leaders of the world government. At this time, The old man in a black suit sitting on the far left said, "Can you ensure their loyalty?" The old man has white curly hair, a fluffy white beard, a flat hat, and a scar on his left face. He looks dignified. Sora replied, "Although they each have personality problems, but so far, they are loyal to the world government." At this time, the old man sitting in the middle, wearing a dark blue suit, with long straight white hair and a long beard, said, "All three of them have the potential to become admirals, and we can start observing." The old man with long straight hair expressed his opinion. At this time, the blonde old man in a dark red suit without a tie and a scar on his chest said, "Marine's strength is indeed going to increase. What happened 10 years ago can't happen again." The bald old man in a dark green suit and with a figure-8 mustache also echoed, "It would be a shame if something like this happened again." The 4 members of the 5 elders have already made a statement. After listening to the answers of the 4 people, wearing a white Taoist robe and glasses, the only old man in the 5 elders who did not wear a suit put the samurai sword in his hand on his lap. "Go back, we will make the best arrangement." "Yes." Sora turned and left the room of power. After Kong left, the curly-haired old man said, "No matter what, you must ensure your loyalty." The words of the curly-haired old man made the other 4-5 elders nod at the same time. At this time, the old man in a white robe looked at Victor's information. This information was not provided by Marine, but collected by CP0. In Victor's profile, Victor's life experience and personality are introduced in detail. Victor likes forming cliques, making money, and expressing himself. Victor did anything to make money. The fact that the 189 branch refused to save them, even deliberately delayed the rescue time, and allowed the pirates to plunder the port of Wilhelm is proof. The old man in the white robe said with a smile, "Although he will not be loyal to justice, I think he will be loyal to the world government." The flaws do not conceal the virtues. In order to achieve his goal, Victor will do whatever it takes. For the sake of money, he can even give up the bottom line. 5 elders are more at ease with this kind of people with tainted conduct. If Victor's sense of justice is too strong, then 5 elders should consider it instead. Of course, it is too early to make a decision and further observation is required. G5 Branch Training Ground. Victor is teaching Wright and Connor the 6 styles in the training ground. At this time, he was demonstrating the flying finger pistol. The steel pillars at a distance of 30 meters were hit by the air bullets fired by Victor, leaving deep craters one after another. This is a steel pillar. Next, Victor started using the Tempest Kick. Tempest Kick Crescent Sky Rush. Victor kicked decisively towards the steel pillar on the front side, and a white crescent-shaped slash flew out, cutting off nearly 100 steel pillars in the middle. This scene not only amazed Wright and Connor, but also stunned the onlookers from the G5 branch Marine. Although Marine from the G5 branch has also heard that Victor is very strong, hearing about it and witnessing it with his own eyes are completely different feelings. I wrote in the book that if you want to practice the 6 postures well, your body is the most important thing. After Victor finished speaking, he took off his shirt, revealing a body of strong, muscular, sculpture-like muscles. Although Victor's image is as elegant as that of a prince, and he never dragged his feet in battle, but after he took off his shirt, he added a bit of iron-blooded and tough man's temperament. Our power is hidden in our body. If we mobilize it and exert its greatest power, this is what we need to master. At this time, Victor's body changed significantly, and his right arm became thicker. It's the return of life. Wright, Connor, and the field officers who were watching around thought at the same time. You all know that life return can freely control the body, hair, and internal organs. As long as the consciousness is poured into it, you can freely control any place. And now, we mobilize the energy of the whole body. As Victor spoke, he aimed at the steel plate in the distance. There was a bang, and Victor's fingertips released a huge air bomb. After the air bomb hit the steel plate, a big hole was pierced through the steel plate. At this time, Victor cancelled the return of life. I just gave an example. I hope you can understand the actual usage of return of life. Both Wright and Connor looked at Victor with admiration. I still have something to do, you guys continue to practice. After Victor finished speaking, he turned and left the training ground. Paluzolino watched all this from a distance, and he murmured, still pushy as before. At this time, Marine with the G5 branch came to Wright and Connor. Excuse me, Can you lend us Colonel Victor's cultivation experience? A lieutenant colonel asked Wright seriously. Wright replied, of course. Wright believed that Senior Victor would not mind. In his eyes, Senior Victor is a great and selfless person who has been helping others without reservation. Victor returned to the dormitory from the training ground. His dormitory is very clean. However, he did not clean it himself. Now he has more and more fans. Cleaning dormitory and other sundries, naturally some people rush to do it. Victor sat at the desk and started to pick up the pen. He was going to write, hockey practice experience. This is an advanced part of the 6 style practice, and Victor will still make it public so that more Marines can practice it. As for the benefits of doing so, it is natural to generate more followers. Using the power of his followers, Victor can form a faction on his own in the days to come. Tuk tuk. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The door is unlocked, Victor said casually. The door was opened. Nun Vice Admiral walked in. He came behind Victor, and after seeing what Victor wrote, he couldn't help frowning. Such a precious thing. Do you want to share it? Hockey's method of cultivation has always been the secret of the strong. It can only be obtained by following the strong. If there is no guidance from the strong, many ordinary people will not be able to master hockey in their lifetime. Victor said calmly, if our Marine was strong enough 10 years ago, there wouldn't be so many sacrifices. After listening to Victor's words, Nun nodded. The Valley of God incident really shouldn't have happened. He was misled by Victor. Nun thought it was because of the death of his parents that he actively improved Marine's strength. After Victor stopped writing, he said seriously, Uncle, sooner or later, I will make the world clean. In past and present lives, Victor believes that the most important thing is to establish a personality for himself. In front of his juniors, he is a selfless senior. In front of his elders, he is a man with lofty aspirations. In front of the world government, he is a tainted person. In front of his subordinates, he is a man worth following. Human settings can provide the rationality of behavior. In short, personality is very important. So far, Victor feels that he has done a perfect job. The students adore him. Marine of Branch 191 is willing to follow him. The elders were also misled by him. I believe that the world government will also be misled by him. Only in this way can he gain greater power, as well as higher status and power. Since capturing Jonathan, the G5 branch has not gone out to perform tasks for nearly half a month. For half a month, Victor selflessly imparted cultivation methods every day, and at the same time compiled his personal experience. In the G5 branch, the Marines, whether they are officers or soldiers, are copying Victor's book. Whether it is promotion or cultivation, Victor's knowledge and experience can help them. This is like the notes of a top student, and it is a treasure for those who are eager to go further. Moreover, as long as Victor arrives at the training ground, there will be many Marines watching. They all came to attend classes. For them, the cultivation methods and cultivation methods taught by Victor can improve their strength more efficiently. Colonel Victor, Colonel Victor, Colonel Victor. Victor was walking on the way to the restaurant, and the officers and soldiers along the way would greet him proactively. His selflessness and strength won the respect of the G5 branch. Victor would respond with a smile, Senior Victor. At this time, Wright and Connor led a group of officers trotting all the way to Victor's side. It's you. Victor stopped, looked at Wright, Connor, and the people around them. Who are these? Senior. Wright introduced the people around him. They are Major Eric, Major Kennard, Captain Wilder, and Golor Lieutenant Junior grade from the G5 branch. After reading your book recently, they all came to thank you of. Victor smiled slightly and said, they're all Marines, so you don't need to be so polite. Major Eric raised his hands in salute. Colonel Victor, your book has helped me a lot. If there is a chance, please let me follow you. So are we. Kennard, Wilder, Golor and others said at the same time. Why are there so many people following Garp? Not just the title of a Marine hero. What's more important is to follow Garp and be able to get Garp's guidance. However, with so many Marines, not everyone has the opportunity to stay with Garp. But Victor is different. He is really too selfless. If you can stay with Victor, you can get advice from Victor when you encounter problems in cultivation. Of course, in addition to getting guidance from Victor, there are also opportunities for promotion. Most of the Marines who will be assigned to the G5 branch have no background in the headquarters, or have personality problems and poor popularity. Otherwise, those with a background or a good relationship will definitely not go to the G5 branch. Because the sacrifice rate here is too high. Therefore, in the original timeline, when Smoker applied to Aokiji to be transferred to the G5 branch, it would make most people feel incredible. Well, there will be a chance, Victor said seriously. Willing to follow him? Of course, the more the better. What Victor is doing now is to promote himself and let his personality charm affect more people. See Circle Calendar August 1494. Victor was called to the office by Nun. Nun handed a letter of appointment to Victor. From now on, you will be appointed as the commander of the special forces of the G5 branch. Victor looked at the appointment letter, and he blindly guessed it was Sengoku. Because Nun is very rigid and never gives anyone a back door, therefore, his popularity in the headquarters is not very good. Sure enough, Nun went on to say, Sengoku Admiral's original words, manpower and equipment, you can choose whatever you want. Thank you, Uncle Nun. Because in the office, Victor didn't see much outsiders. Go ahead. Nun nodded. Yes. Victor gave a military salute, then turned and left. Victor came to the training ground. Since he came to the G5 branch, the training ground has been crowded with people every day. At first it was to join in the fun, later it was to learn how to practice, and now it was to practice hard and strive to improve its own strength. A man's desire to become stronger is engraved in his bones. Therefore, when this group of unpopular G5 branch Marines have a way to become stronger, they naturally have to seize the opportunity. Now, they are practicing hard under the scorching sun one by one, strengthening their physiques, and under them, the ground is already wet with sweat. Colonel Victor. Colonel Victor. Colonel Victor. Seeing Victor coming, the Marines in the training ground stopped and saluted Victor. Victor walked all the way to Wright, Connor and others. They are now practicing with Eric, Kennard and others. According to the cultivation method and cultivation experience taught by Victor, they find each other's shortcomings. Senior Victor. Colonel Victor. Eric, Kennard and the others stood up straight and began to salute. Look at this. Victor handed the appointment letter to Eric. Eric showed an excited expression after reading the above content. Although it is only a special task force directly under the G5 branch, the commander is Victor. Moreover, the required officers can be selected by the commander himself. Subsequently, Eric handed over the letter of appointment to Kennard and others. Kennard and others were also very excited after reading it. Victor calmly asked Eric and Kennard, "Are you willing to join the special forces?" "Of course I would," Eric, Kennard and others said in unison. Victor said lightly, "Do me a favor first, help me recruit 2 squadrons." "Yes." Eric, Kennard and others saluted. There are 2 squadrons of special forces, and each squadron is full of 500 people. Victor directly selected Eric and Kennard as squadron leaders. Wright, Connor and others naturally joined the special forces. I heard that Victor has become the commander of the special forces, and at the same time, he needs to recruit members. Therefore, there are a lot of people who sign up. In less than half a day, the special forces were fully recruited. On the second day after the establishment of the special forces, Victor received a new task. New mission. Track down the Roger Pirates. Tracking down the Roger Pirates is a dangerous mission. In the past, Marine who followed Roger's pirates did not end well. However, tasks are tasks and must be performed. After receiving the task, the special forces left the base on the same day. 10 days later. The sun was shining, the sky was blue and the sea was calm. On the deck of the warship, Wright, Connor and several young officers chatted together and enjoyed the afternoon tea time. At this time, Wright said curiously, "The headquarters really care about Roger. Obviously there are so many pirates in New World, especially the Golden Lion, which is much more rampant than Roger." Connor nodded. There are a lot of news about Golden Lion in the recent newspapers. Followed by Whitebeard, Bigo, Kaido et al. As for Roger's news, I only saw it once 10 days ago. Wilder lowered his voice and whispered, "I heard that Roger holds the secret of ancient weapon." Ancient weapon? Wright and Connor were unfamiliar with the word, ancient weapon. Wild looked at the two of them and said, "I was also in the previous army, and I heard about it by accident. I heard that ancient weapon has the power to destroy the world." That was obtained by Roger. Isn't it very dangerous? Wright said subconsciously. Wilder said, that's why the world government and the headquarters are in a hurry to deal with Roger and his gang. I see. Wright, Connor and others finally understood Roger's danger. At this time, Victor, Eric, and Kennard came over. Seeing Victor approaching, Wright, Connor and the others immediately stood up straight and saluted. It's almost to Gal Island, everyone pay attention, there may be extreme weather later. Victor reminded Wright and others. Extreme weather. Wright and the others looked at the clear sky and the calm sea. To become a qualified Marine, one must not only look at personal bravery, but also understand geography and weather. After Victor finished speaking, he handed a logbook behind him to Wright and the others. If you have time, you can read it. Wright opened his eyes and said, this is the pirate's logbook from the day before yesterday. Victor hummed and said, there are a lot of trophies, and the logbook is the most precious among them. Thank you, Senior. I will definitely read it, Wright replied seriously. Wright believed Victor was right. Okay, everyone else is also ready for severe weather at any time. Victor said to Marine on the deck. Yes, the Marines on the mast and on the deck all answered loudly. When the boat approached Gal Island, the sky suddenly darkened. This phenomenon can only be described as bizarre. The sky was still clear just now, and in a blink of an eye, it was covered with dark clouds, black as ink. Not only that, the sea was rough, and the waves that suddenly rolled up were more than 10 meters high. In addition, thunder and lightning flashed in the sky, accompanied by violent storms from time to time. The sailors on the deck furled the sails in the shortest time, and then returned to the cabin. At this time, the cabin is like a tin can, and the sailors in the cabin are like candy in the tin can. In the face of the forces of nature, warships are really too small. The storm of the night is over. The Marines of the Special Forces were all tormented enough. Everyone adores Victor, though. If Victor hadn't warned them in advance and let them prepare for emergencies in advance, they would have been caught off guard. If one is not careful, the ship may even be destroyed. After the warship docked, the Marines quickly landed on Gal Island. The wreckage of ships floated on the beach of Gal Island. These wreckages have already been damaged by the washing of seawater and the scorching sun. The Special Forces need to replenish supplies on the island in the shortest possible time, such as fresh water, as well as fruits, food, and other supplies. However, there are already guests on the island of Gal. This guest is not welcome Marine. At this time, Marine soldiers enter the forest, where they will hunt, log, collect herbs and other materials. However, in a clearing in the forest, a tall, thin man sat. When the Marines saw the tall, thin man, they were all stunned. They can't get it wrong, and the appearance of the other party is too recognizable. The man wears a plum red shirt and blood red trousers, black leather shoes with gold rims on his feet, a large blood red cape with a plaid pattern inside, a blue rose around his neck, and wearing a slender umbrella with a bat handle. The man's eyebrows are red, a gold chain hangs from his mouth, and he always has a wicked smile. Just kidding. How did you meet this guy here? Oops. I'm going to die this time. I'm going to die here. Although they are Marines selected by the G5 branch, it doesn't mean they won't be afraid. Especially the strength of the enemy is beyond their imagination. He actually chased here. The corner of the man's mouth raised a playful smile. Is it Garp, or Sengoku? As soon as the man finished speaking, some sailors turned around and ran away, shouting as they ran, the Red Earl is on the island. Do not come. Everyone run. The Marines reminded their companions loudly. The Red Earl, Beloric Redfield. Although there is only one person, relying on his own strength alone, he can keep pace with the strong men in the sea. He is the big pirate of New World, a strong man with terrifying power. There are countless pirates and Marines killed by the Red Earl. However, the next second, the forest fell silent. The sailors fell to the ground, and a lot of blood flowed from their bodies. Redfield is still holding the umbrella. Use an umbrella as a sword. He has extremely powerful swordsmanship. In terms of personality, it is similar to Hawkeye Mihawk. What happened? Did you hear that? Did he just call the Red Earl? Go and have a look. You report to Colonel Victor. The Marines are divided into two parts, one to inform Victor, and the others to the forest. However, when they arrived in the forest, they found the remains of dead bodies everywhere. At least more than 50 sailors died tragically. Their bodies were cut into pieces, and their deaths were horrible. At the same time, the sailor who came back to report didn't care to catch his breath, and came to Victor, a Colonel Victor, the Red Earl. The Red Earl is on the island. After hearing the name of the Red Earl, Eric, Kennard and the others widened their eyes at the same time, filled with uneasiness. Some Marines made a hissing sound and secretly took a breath. It is said that even Marine Admiral cannot defeat the Red Earl. And Marine Admiral is the strongest combat power of Marine. It's different from fighting Jonathan. Although Jonathan is strong, he is not at the same level as the Red Earl. In the past, as long as Marine encountered the Red Earl, he would basically die. The Red Earl is brutal. Therefore, Marine is very afraid of the Red Earl. Are you scared? At this moment, Victor's voice sounded behind Eric, Kennard and others. Colonel Victor. Senior Victor. When Eric and the others saw Victor, their uneasy hearts suddenly calmed down. Victor looked at Eric and the others, and said calmly, "It's just a Red Earl, I'll take care of him." Colonel Victor, the enemy is the Red Earl, Eric wants to remind Victor. Although Eric knows Victor is strong, the Red Earl is a great pirate and has been famous for years. Victor ignored it and stepped out with his right foot. Call out. Call out. Call out. Victor sprinted through the air, heading towards the forest. On the outskirts of the forest, nearly 100 Marines stood on the outskirts and dared not enter. Marine, who had just entered, only let out a burst of screams, and none of them came back. With a snap, Victor landed in front of them, Colonel Victor. Like Eric and others, the Marines outside the forest felt reassured after seeing Victor appear. Victor said without turning his head, "Don't get too close, so as not to be affected." Yes. The surrounding Marine nodded instinctively. Victor hummed, and strode into the forest. There were corpses all over the ground, and the corpses were not complete. Redfield's slash cut the corpses into pieces. According to random statistics, there are at least 100 corpses. "I have lost so many subordinates," Victor said calmly. "How do you plan to atone for it?" Redfield stood directly in front of Victor. At this moment, Redfield pressed his hands on the handle of the umbrella, and he looked at Victor expressionlessly. "If you want to avenge your subordinates, then attack them." Redfield's mouth curled into a smile. "As you wish." Victor took off the cloak of justice behind him and threw it into the air. And the moment he threw off the cloak of justice, he raised his foot and kicked it straight ahead. The black feet entwined by armament hockey firmly stepped on the tip of the black umbrella. Zzz. The armament hockey of the two rubbed violently. "You are stronger than I expected," Redfield said with a frown. The moment Victor dropped his cloak just now was actually a flaw. Redfield seized the opening and wanted to kill Victor with one blow. Victor, however, not only anticipated his Redfield moves, but was extremely fast. "Then your judgment was wrong again," Victor said calmly. Redfield looked puzzled. "My strength is stronger than yours." The moment Victor spoke, his right foot exploded with great strength. Clatter la la la. Redfield didn't react for a while, and was pushed back a distance by the huge force. Just as Redfield stood firm, Victor turned into afterimages and rushed forward. So fast, so explosive. Redfield felt that Victor was even comparable to Whitebeard and Roger in terms of explosiveness. Also, Victor looks so young. Surprised? "Do you think I'm too young?" With a whoosh, Victor appeared in front of Redfield, raised his foot at the same time, and made a kick. Victor's lower split was like a guillotine on a guillotine, falling extremely fast and terrifyingly powerful. Boom. Redfield raised his umbrella sword to resist. Zzz. In the sound of armament hockey's rubbing, with the two of them at the center, the surrounding trees were broken by the impact of the shockwave. This kid's strength is so great. Redfield felt as if a storm was hitting the shore in his heart, and he couldn't calm down. He had fought against Sora, Sengoku and others when he was young, however, their strength at that time was definitely not that strong. "Don't think I'm weak just because I'm young." As Victor said, he kicked a high whip again, like a machete, straight to Redfield's neck. Rumble rumble. On the outskirts of the forest, the Marines don't know what's going on in the forest. All they saw were patches of fallen trees. This is caused by the battle between the Senior and the Red Earl. Wright and the others were shocked. They hadn't seen Victor and Jonathan fight earlier. Therefore, they only know that Victor is very strong, but they don't know that Victor is so strong. Boom. At this time, there was another loud noise from the forest, shaking the entire island of Gao. Don't know what happened inside. In the forest, Redfield glanced not far away. The dust and mist dissipated. A deep pit was revealed. Victor is still in the pit, maintaining a downward punching posture. If Redfield hadn't dodged in time just now, the punch would have landed on him. What a disappointment, I thought you were going to punch me in the face. Victor said calmly. Is this guy a monster? Redfield looked at Victor coldly. However, Garp is right. Victor suddenly smiled. As a time traveler, he knew that Sengoku exaggerated the strength of the Red Earl, saying that the Red Earl was on an equal footing with Roger, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion on his own. In fact, the strength of the Red Earl is not that terrifying. Garp said that the Red Earl is not enough to leave a name in history, and the Red Earl himself thinks he is not as good as Roger, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion. Among other things, Redfield's courage is obviously not enough. How can a real strong man shrink back from a head-on confrontation? What did Garp say? Redfield asked. It doesn't matter. Victor shook his head. Although you are not as good as Roger and the others, if I beat you, not only will I be promoted, but I will also be famous in the sea. The last time Jonathan was caught, Victor didn't get promoted either. Fortunately, Sakazuki, Paluzolino and others were not promoted either. Now, if Redfield is caught again, then promotion is the second priority, and fame is the key point. You want to catch me, too? Redfield snorted coldly. He didn't deny that Victor was strong, but he wasn't weak. Death bite. In an instant, Redfield launched an offensive, and he stabbed the umbrella sword continuously. The umbrella sword seemed to turn into hundreds of lion majesty, biting Victor viciously. However, Victor looked indifferent and avoided them all. Moreover, it was avoided in advance. His moves seemed to be seen through and cracked by Victor. This surprised Redfield. Can you see the future? Redfield said coldly. After many years in the sea, Redfield also heard that observation hockey can predict the future, but this state is extremely difficult to achieve. For example, Katakuri can see the future for a period of time, and Luffy raised his knowledge to see a part of the future in the battle with Katakuri. Avoiding attacks and anticipating attacks are just the basic operations of observation hockey, not foreseeing the future. Did you see it? Victor smiled lightly. In fact, he didn't intend to hide his strength at all. He has been very high profile since time travel. From childhood to adulthood, he was a genius in the eyes of outsiders. Regardless of his talent or his hard work, he is the number one among his peers. Therefore, it is a matter of course that he is strong. Ha ha ha. Redfield burst out laughing suddenly, then, he raised the umbrella sword in his hand, pointed at Victor, and said in a joking tone, killing a genius like you, the marine executives will be very heartbroken. Kill me. Do you have that strength? Victor smiled, shook his head lightly and said, this attitude seemed to be joking and mocking Redfield. Boy, be prepared to die. Anger appeared in Redfield's eyes, and then he swung the umbrella sword in his hand, and he stabbed forward. A blood-red sword light pierced Victor. Victor tilted his head away from the attack. Call out. Redfield shaved and disappeared from Victor's sight in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Victor like a ghost. However, Victor had already seen Redfield's movement, and his heavy punch slammed out, hitting Redfield's cheek. Boom. Redfield got a punch in the cheek. However, this punch was deliberately received by Redfield. Although the fist was heavy, but by leaning back after being hit, Redfield kicked sideways and kicked Victor hard. Victor was kicked in the stomach and slid backwards. It's a heavy kick, and the sharp toe wraps around armament hockey, easily kicking a warship out of a hole. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Victor's right foot slammed down and his body stabilized. The competition between the strong players of their level, if they only compete with observation hockey, it will be a fairly long and protracted battle. Therefore, if you want to get the results quickly, it is not a matter of fighting for knowledge. It's about fighting for their own body. To put it simply, the stronger the body, the more resistant it is to be beaten, and it will survive to the end. Redfield is 44 years old and still in his prime. He is not afraid of physical confrontation. Moreover, since he went to sea, he has experienced countless fierce battles, and he has experienced more than a dozen fierce battles that were near death. In contrast to Victor. In Redfield's eyes, Victor is a young man. No matter how strong he is, he has not passed the test of life and death. Whether it is physical strength or personal willpower, nothing can compare with him. Come again. Redfield pounced again. The blood-red cloak on his body fluttered, shuttling through the space like a vampire. Victor snorted coldly, clenched his hands into fists, and charged for a short time. 6 styles 6 King Spear. This was originally the strongest physical skill of the 6 forms that only Lu Chi could use. It is the highest profound meaning that can only be comprehended by grandmasters who have cultivated the above 6 forms to ultimate. However, Victor's talent can only be described as monster. He can use all the physical skills he has seen in his previous life. At this time, both hands clenched into fists together, sending out an attack similar to a shockwave, and the shockwave hit Redfield. Redfield was hit, blood spurting from his mouth. However, Ladefield's attack also followed. Ladefield swung the umbrella sword in his hand and slashed forward. The blood-red slash hits Victor. Victor's body was bleeding. However, the two seem to be fine. It seems that they have been severely injured, but they are completely insignificant. Victor and Redfield each make adjustments before disappearing again. Both of them were as fast as ghosts. Call out. Call out. From the disappearance of the two at the same time, to the appearance of the two at the same time, it seemed that it was only a breath. Victor kicks hard and Redfield kicks back. Boom. With this heavy kick, the strength of the two bodies was released respectively. Armament hockey made a sizzling sound, and the shockwave generated by the impact spread out. There was madness in the eyes of Victor and Redfield. You're strong, Redfield said to Victor. You're not weak either, Victor replied. Redfield showed a ferocious face and sneered, if you were given a few more years, maybe Roger and Whitebeard are not your opponents. I never saw them as my goal, Victor said. A trace of surprise and curiosity flashed in Redfield's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Because a split second later, Victor punches Redfield hard. Redfield raised the umbrella sword in his hand, and armament hockey was wrapped around the umbrella sword. Boom. The impact of the two forces once again caused a huge explosion. The airwave caused by the shockwave completely destroyed the surrounding forest. The torsos of the big trees that were knocked down by the shockwave, or even broken, were shattered into a sky full of sawdust under the abuse of the overflowing armament hockey. The clothes on Redfield's body were also shredded into strips at this time. At this time, the two had already appeared in the sight of the Marines. The surrounding forests have completely disappeared, and the ground is full of traces of destruction and raging. This scene left Eric and the others dumbfounded. This guy's armament hockey is weird. Redfield's eyes widened, and he quickly separated from Victor. Just now, he discovered the anomaly of Victor's armament hockey. Victor's armament hockey was able to break through his defenses. In Redfield's cognition, armament hockey has 3 types: hardening, entanglement, and external release. Both hardening and winding can enhance attack and defense. The external release is to gather the armed color on the hand or weapon, and then release it, which directly evolves into a substantial attack or defense power. It can launch a powerful impact to fly away the enemy, and can also form a protective wall, and even defend against invisible attacks. However, armament hockey, which Victor had just released, actually drilled into Redfield's body like a drill. Although no major injuries were caused by Redfield's defense, it has already aroused his vigilance. Did you find out? Victor smiled slightly. The usage of emission is similar to the dark force in martial arts novels, and it is a unique usage method of Wano-kuni. After Wano-kuni closed the country, the usage of emission did not spread overseas. After Kozuki Oden and others went to sea, the use of emission was passed on to Whitebeard and Roger pirates. It seems that if you want to kill you, you have to pay a big price. Redfield's eyes darkened, and he knew he had underestimated Victor. Victor is strong. Although Victor is very young, Grandmaster has a more advanced method of using hockey. If you want to kill Victor, you have to fight with your life. And there is a price to pay for fighting. The price could be a hand, a leg, or even worse, disability. At this time, Redfield's eyes became sharp and fierce, and his hand holding the umbrella sword had bruised veins and blood vessels, and dense cracks appeared on the ground under his feet as he exerted force. He is not just serious now, but prepared to fight for his life. Redfield knew Victor was strong. Facing the strong, there is no luck, only to fight with all your strength. Very well, you are a qualified stepping stone, Victor said calmly, and then made a pose. Redfield had never seen this pose. However, he hasn't seen it, which doesn't mean that Wright and others don't know each other. It's the return of life. 8 inner gates. Open the gate. The eyes of Wright, Connor and others were full of excitement. Victor once wrote in 6 types of derivative techniques. Life return 8 inner gates open the door, by removing the restriction of the brain region, in order to achieve the purpose of exerting the physical ability of 100. Of course, the price is to overload the body's energy to increase strength and speed. However, they haven't been able to master it yet. Because it is crazy for them to solve the problem of brain domain limitation. Eric murmured. Colonel Victor wants a quick victory. As predicted. Under the excited eyes of everyone, Victor disappeared in place in an instant. So fast. If the speed of Victor and Redfield were ghosts just now, then Victor's speed is already unbelievable. Wasn't Victor's full strength just now? Is it now? While Redfield was shocked. Boom. Victor lifted his foot and kicked Redfield hard. Redfield raised the umbrella sword in his hand, trying to block Victor's attack. However, Redfield was kicked away. Crash la la la. After Lighterfield's feet slid on the ground for a certain distance, he barely stopped. Is there such a strong power without accumulating power? Redfield was shocked. However, before Redfield could stand still, Victor had already launched an attack from behind. Boom. With the sound of a gas explosion, Victor began to attack Redfield with heavy punches. This punch is 100 strength again. That kick just now was also 100 strength. After the punch hit Redfield's cheek, Redfield was in pain. This punch directly collapsed his nose, and blood dripped down the corner of his mouth. However, before Redfield could react, Victor kicked out with the other foot, kicking Redfield hard in the abdomen, causing him to fly backwards again. The attack is not over yet. Victor is catching up again. Boom. Another hard kick. Puff. Redfield spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, he felt as if his internal organs had been kicked to pieces. The current Redfield hasn't eaten devil fruit yet, and doesn't have the ability of vampires and the recovery ability of zone phantom beasts. Bang bang bang. Victor's fists and feet hit Redfield like a violent storm. Redfield could only resist and dodge with all his strength. Asshole. Redfield gritted his teeth and held on. He had thought it would be a tragic life and death struggle. Unexpectedly, he was suppressed by Wanchuan in terms of speed and strength. Victor is not talking nonsense. His current state will put a super high load on his body, so the sooner the fight is resolved, the better. 2 hours. Within 2 hours, he was going to end the fight in 2 hours. Time passed by every minute and every second. The high-intensity battle between the two has lasted for 1 hour and 50 minutes. Redfield's chest heaved violently, and Victor can feel pain in muscles and bones. A tearing pain. Wright and the others were stunned. As mentioned in Victor's book, the use time of 8 inner gates should be controlled as much as possible. If it exceeds 10 minutes, it may cause blood vessels to rupture, muscles to tear, and bones to shatter. At this time, Victor disappeared in place again, and his terrifying speed appeared in front of Redfield in an instant. Victor moved at high speed in front of Redfield, leaving afterimages in front of his eyes. Breakthrough. Before Redfield had time to react, Victor attacked suddenly. Victor kicked Redfield in the jaw. This blow sent Redfield flying to an altitude of more than 1,000 meters. At this time, Victor also disappeared. At a terrifying speed, he flew towards the sky on moonwalk. Oh my god, I caught up. Senior Victor is too fast. Wright, Connor and others exclaimed. At this time, Victor came behind Redfield and hugged Redfield. Then it rotated at high speed in the air and hit the ground. Redfield was hit on the head. There was a loud bang, and the entire island was shaking, as if a major earthquake had occurred, and the entire island was full of cracks. This time the impact caused Redfield to suffer great damage. Thanks to Redfield's strong physique and tough life, for other people, this move can be said to be a fatal move. Its life-returning 8 inner gates Biao Lianhua. Wright, Connor and the others held their breaths. This was the first time they had seen this move. Victor looked at Redfield, who was lying on the ground, and then released the open door status. Victor felt tired when he lifted the door. It's like running 1,500 meters in a previous life. Although it is tiring, it is acceptable. At this time, Wright, Connor and others all ran over. The Marines raised their knives and pointed at Redfield on the ground. "Don't worry, he has lost consciousness," Victor said to Wright and others. "The Red Earl has been defeated by Colonel Victor. Long live Colonel Victor! Long live Colonel Victor! Long live Colonel Victor!" The Marines recovered from their shock and started cheering and shouting. Although many comrades were killed just now, it was enough for them to capture Redfield alive. Victor said to Eric, "Send a report to the headquarters." Yes. Eric immediately went to send a fax. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Sengoku is working on a new battle plan. At this time, a Marine Commodore ran in excitedly. "Marshal Sengoku." With the fax in his hand, Commodore excitedly said to Sengoku, "Colonel Victor captured the Red Earl alive." "What did you say?" Sengoku was stunned when he heard the words, and after more than 10 seconds, he asked, "What did you just say?" Commodore repeated, "Colonel Victor captured the Red Earl alive." Sengoku froze. Victor actually caught the Red Earl. At the same time, in Naval Headquarters, everyone including Crane Vice Admiral, Wood Vice Admiral and others knew that Victor had captured the Red Earl. As the Marine Marshal, Sora naturally knew about this. He had the same reaction as Sengoku et al. They were shocked. Speaking of which, when Sora was serving as Admiral, he wanted to capture the Red Earl. It just didn't work out. Boom boom boom. At this moment, there was a knock on the office door. "Come in." Sora called towards the door. Sengoku opened the door and walked in. Kong asked seriously, "Are you going to talk about Victor's promotion?" Victor captured Jonathan alive, which was no small feat. Now, Victor has captured the Red Earl alive again. It would be unjustifiable not to give Victor a promotion. If promoted to Commodore, Sora hesitated. It's not that he doesn't want to give Victor a promotion. Instead, he was promoted to Commodore, which really didn't match Victor's military exploits. The Red Earl is also a great pirate after all, and catching the Red Earl is a great feat. Sengoku did not hesitate. He said, "Promote Victor to Rear Admiral first, and after a year, promote him to Vice Admiral." Sora looked at Sengoku, a little surprised. He originally only wanted Victor to be promoted to Rear Admiral. As a result, Sengoku directly overweighted. Promoted to Vice Admiral at the age of 21. Will it be too fast? Think about when they joined the army and slowly promoted from seaman recruit. Sengoku seemed to see what Sora was thinking, and he said seriously, "After the destruction of rocks, it is a fact that pirates are rising rapidly, and we must cultivate a new generation of Marines." The implication. Marines must not only cultivate powerful Marines, but also have deterrent power. After a while, Sora nodded, accepting Sengoku's suggestion. Although Kong is the marshal, he is indeed not as good as Sengoku in terms of employment and layout. Holy Land, Mariajoy, Pangu City, between the powers. 5 elders also received Victor's battle report, and there is still time to submit a report. He actually captured the Red Earl alive. He is only 20 years old. Does he already have the strength of Admiral? Both the white-haired old man and the blonde-haired old man frowned. Isn't it normal for a genius who can develop this physical technique to defeat the Red Earl? At this time, the old man in glasses wearing a white Taoist robe was not surprised, and there was an extra copy of 6 forms of derivative techniques in his hand. Among them, there is a record of returning life, opening the door, and expressing the lotus. By removing the limitations of the brain domain, you can exert your own 100% speed and 100% strength. However, the price is very high, and it is necessary to bear the overload of the body. According to the report of the special agent stationed in the Secret Service, Victor used life return a open the door a Biao Lianhua to defeat the Red Earl. You're right, he's a genius. At this time, the white curly-haired old man said, in the report submitted by Sora, it is clarified that they will be trained to become Marines in the future. Since it is the facade of the world government, let him be stronger. There is a devil fruit ability suitable for him, but don't rush to give it to him. The old man with a mustache and a birthmark on his forehead said seriously, his loyalty still needs to be tested. Then give it to him after he's promoted to Vice Admiral. The old man with glasses knows what kind of devil fruit it is. That is a power over Logia. Best for Victor and best for Victor's power. Because of the encounter with the Red Earl, the mission of the Special Forces was temporarily suspended. The military doctor also gave a report on Victor's injuries. So, Victor led the Special Forces and returned to the G5 branch. With the gates open, the warships belonging to the Special Forces slowly entered. In the port of the G5 branch, Nun, Vice Admiral and others have brought people to wait. Victor's body was covered with gauze, and he walked down from the warship step by step. Salute. Nun and Vice Admiral lead the salute. All Marines in the G5 branch, salute Victor. The Red Earl has killed a large number of Marines and committed countless crimes. Victor captured the Red Earl alive, not only to gain military exploits, but also to avenge the dead Marine. Therefore, Victor deserves the respect of the G5 branch. Victor also saluted Nun, Vice Admiral and others. Then the Red Earl was carried from the ship. Redfield is now in a mess. He is bound like a rice dumpling by chains as thick as his arms. And he closed his eyes, seemingly not paying attention to the gazes around him. In fact, even though he pretended not to care, he was still very upset. Because he kind of became like a wild animal in a zoo, being admired and commented on by others. Is that the Red Earl? With such a serious injury, he is still alive. It's even worse to live, and he will definitely live a life worse than death. The Marines were talking in low voices. At this time, Victor came to Nun's side. Nun patted Victor on the shoulder and said, "Good job. It's just luck, I happened to meet him," Victor said indifferently. Nun took the letter of appointment and said, "Well, take care of your injuries, you are a big star in Marine." Victor took over the letter of appointment, and Naval Headquarters officially awarded the rank of Victor Rear Admiral. Just over 2 years after graduating from the military academy, Victor has been promoted to Rear Admiral. The Newsbird landed on the Golden Jackson. Rayleigh paid Newsbird 500 Baileys for a copy of the newspaper. Rayleigh was shocked when he saw the newspaper headlines. "Mr. Rayleigh, what's the matter?" At this time, Buggy came over, and seeing Rayleigh's shocked appearance, he asked a question. As soon as Shanks wanted to come over, Roger held down the straw hat on his head. "Brother, what's the matter?" Roger asked Rayleigh. "There's a big guy out of Marine." Rayleigh handed the newspaper to Roger, tougher than those two I met last year. Roger took the newspaper and saw 2 photos on it. One is a photo of Victor. The other is a photo of the Red Earl. Victor, 20 years old, Colonel Marine, capturing the Red Earl alive is really amazing. Roger was reading Victor's personal introduction. He has sailed the sea for many years and is a big pirate with both experience and strength at the peak. Roger understood Marine's intentions. Marine wants to make heroes. Just like Garp was 10 years ago. The Red Earl and Jonathan were captured alive. Victor has already made outstanding achievements at such a young age. Buggy jumped up, trying to read the paper. At this time, Bullet also came over. 3 years ago, Bullet joined the Roger Pirates, and since then his goal has been to defeat Roger. Now, Bullet is 17 years old, and he has enough strength to rival Rayleigh. Therefore, Bullet is not interested in most of the underdogs. Now hearing that Victor captured the Red Earl alive, Bullet took note of the name, Victor. Roger handed over the newspaper to Jabba et al. Jabba and others got together to read this report together. At the same time, on the Moby Dick, Marco also bought a newspaper. When Marco saw the news that Victor had captured the Red Earl alive, he was also shocked. How can that be? Marco couldn't believe his eyes. They had encountered the Red Earl. The Red Earl is very powerful. Although Whitebeard did not decide the outcome with the Red Earl, Whitebeard also recognized the strength of the Red Earl. However, it was such a strong man who was captured alive by a Marine colonel. 20-year-old Colonel Marine. A name I've never heard of before. After seeing the contents of this newspaper, Whitebeard frowned. He had a bad feeling. Newgate, Marco. What are you looking at? At this time, a tall man with phoenix eyes, thick eyebrows, long and wild black hair, especially gathered into a large round plane at the top, approached. The man is Kozuki Oden in an orange kimono with his thighs bared. The current Kozuki Oden is the captain of Whitebeard's second team. Not long ago, the Whitebeard Pirates officially launched the captain system. Whitebeard looked at Kozuki Oden and Kozuki behind Kozuki Oden. Kozuki was holding his son Momonosuke in his arms. Momonosuke was just born and was lying in his mother's arms, but Kozuki Oden woke him up because of his loud voice. Whitebeard frowned when he saw Kozuki Oden waking Momonosuke up. He is a family man. Therefore, very dissatisfied with Kozuki Oden's behavior. At the same time, Saki, Beasta and others also came over. They are also curious. Whitebeard handed the newspaper to Kozuki Oden. Read it for yourself. Kozuki Oden took the newspaper, sat cross-legged on the deck, and began to read the contents of the newspaper. Saki, Beasta and others also formed a circle. The Red Earl will be captured alive by a Marine colonel. This is impossible. Victor? I've never heard that name. Have you heard of him? Saki, Beasta and the others looked at each other in blank dismay, their faces full of shock. Only 20 years old. Whitebeard drank his wine. His deep frown represented his worry about the future. Young people today are really amazing. At this time, Teach, who was only 12 years old, also came to watch. 10 days ago, Colonel Victor captured the great pirate Red Earl alive. Teach thought to himself. Try to avoid him in the future. At this time, Whitebeard looked at the people on the boat. When you meet Marine in the future, avoid as much as you can. Whitebeard has long advocated avoiding Marine. He didn't want to go head-to-head with Marine. It's not that he's afraid of Marine, it's that he doesn't want to get into trouble. Now in the new generation of Marine, there are monsters like Victor. This made Whitebeard firm in his opinion. Guo, the capital of Cake Island. Inside the Cake Castle. As the eldest son of Charlotte Linlin, Charlotte Perisparrow has a strong sense of responsibility and mission. He has a clear mind, a brilliant wrist, and is good at tactics. He plays the role of a military advisor in the Big O pirate group, and has his own views on the development of the pirate group. At this moment, Perisparrow was reading today's newspaper. What? When Perisparrow saw the headlines in the newspaper, he almost rolled his eyes out of their sockets. His unbelievable appearance attracted the attention of his younger brothers and sisters. The eldest daughter Charlotte Compote, the second son Charlotte Katakori, the third son Charlotte Daifuku, the fourth son Charlotte Owen and others all joined together. After seeing the contents of the newspaper, everyone was as shocked as Perisparrow. Mama. Charlotte Linlin was enjoying the dessert. After seeing the children's reactions, she smiled and asked, "What happened?" "Mom." Perisparrow said to Charlotte Linlin, "The Red Earl has been captured." Mama. Charlotte Linlin said disapprovingly, "Being caught can only show that he is too weak." Charlotte Linlin didn't think much of the Red Earl. Although the Red Earl is indeed not weak, those who are defeated are the losers of the sea, and they do not deserve sympathy and attention. "Mom, he was caught by a 20-year-old Marine colonel. Perisparrow is 22 years old, but he doesn't think he can catch the Red Earl." Katakori stared intently at Victor's photo. Victor was his age. I wonder if he is stronger or weaker than Victor. 20 years old. The smile on Charlotte Linlin's face disappeared, replaced by seriousness. "Bring the newspaper here." Perisparrow immediately brought the newspaper to Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin looks at Victor's photo. If Garp, Sengoku and others captured the Red Earl, Charlotte Linlin would not be surprised at all. However, Victor is only 20 years old and a newcomer to Marine. One more Admiral-level combat power in Marine will have a huge impact on the Order of the Sea. Charlotte Linlin said seriously, "Pass down the order, don't conflict with Marine in the near future." "Yes." Perisparrow and others replied at the same time. There's nothing shameful about staying out of the way. Charlotte Linlin is no fool. 5 years ago, after Kaido and Jhin escaped from the laboratory, they began to recruit new partners continuously, and their power gradually grew, and their reputation spread far and wide. At this time, the Beast's pirates are entrenched on an island called Beast's Island. Huge beasts can be seen everywhere on the Beast Island. Elephants, lions, and tigers tens of meters high can be seen everywhere. And in the center of the island, huge skeletons can be seen everywhere. These skeletons are the bones of beasts of prey. Kaido is in a cave, holding a roasted elephant leg, gnawing on it. At this time, a minion came in with a newspaper. Minion handed the newspaper to Jhin. After reading the contents of the newspaper, Jin's pupils contracted, and the hand holding the newspaper trembled slightly. "What's wrong?" Kaido glanced out of the corner of his eye and noticed Jin's abnormality. Jhin said in a deep voice, "The Red Earl has been arrested. Isn't that normal? There's no need to make a fuss." Kaido didn't think so. After the destruction of the Rock's pirates, Kaido wandered alone and was captured by Marine many times. After one capture, Dr. Vegapunk extracted the blood factor from Kaido to create the first man-made devil fruit. Jhin shook his head and said, "The one who arrested him was a Marine colonel, only 20 years old." 20-year-old Colonel Marine. Kaido was shocked. 16 years ago, 15-year-old Kaido cooperated with Rock's D. Zebek for the first time, became a trainee pirate of the Rock's pirates, and met Charlotte Linlin. Since then, Kaido has grown faster and faster. However, Kaido doesn't think he can capture the Red Earl alive in a one-on-one situation when he is 20 years old. Charlotte Linlin might. After all, Charlotte Linlin is a born monster. Ember said in a deep voice, "We should avoid conflicts with Marine in the near future." Jhin is Kaido's right hand. He has a calm personality, extraordinary courage, wisdom and bravery, and is even more loyal to Kaido, thinking of Kaido in everything. From Jin's point of view, Marine now has a young Admiral-level fighter. And Victor is in the New World. If Marine is provoked, Marine can mobilize mobile forces at any time to deal with them. So try to keep it low-key and let Marine deal with the high-profile guys. Such as Golden Lion, New World, Glossa Island. This is the base camp of the Flying Pirates. Currently, the Flying Pirates are the biggest force in New World. Unless the Golden Lion gave the order to attack all. Otherwise, there would be at least 20 pirate ships in the port of Glossa Island every day. In Golden Lion's cognition, as long as he can join forces with Roger and make Roger his right-hand man, then he can dominate the world and become the king of the world. At this time, Golden Lion had just woken up and was reading a newspaper. The front-page headlines in the newspapers attracted the attention of the Golden Lion. Colonel Marine Victor captures the Red Earl alive. What a ridiculous joke. Golden Lion snorted coldly. He had contact with the Red Earl once. The Rocks had invited the Red Earl back then. Only the Red Earl refused. The Red Earl's strength is not weak, but if Golden Lion is confident that he can defeat the Red Earl, it just takes a lot of time and comes with a price. However, such a monster was caught by a 20-year-old Colonel Marine. This is simply impossible. Boss, this is a lie fabricated by Marine. A captain under the command of Golden Lion spoke. It's not the first time Marine has done something like this. Isn't that how Garp's hero name came about? The Golden Lion wouldn't believe the stories in the newspapers. Marine wants to make another hero. Marine did not say how many people were killed or injured. Maybe Sora and Sengoku are helping. The pirate cadres in the hall, "You said something, I said something," each expressed the same opinion as Golden Lion. Birds of a feather flock together. The pirates who are willing to follow the Golden Lion have somewhat in common in terms of personality. Moreover, their loyalty to the Golden Lion is extremely high, and they believe in the judgment of the Golden Lion. Ignore him, our target is Roger. Golden Lion threw the newspaper aside and said disapprovingly. Office of the Commander-in-Chief of the G5 branch. Tuk tuk. Victor knocked on the office door continuously. Come in. After hearing Nun's voice, Victor walked in. Nun gestured for Victor to sit down. Uncle Nun, I heard you have something to ask me? Victor sat down and asked. Nun handed the fax from the headquarters to Victor, and he smiled and said, Congratulations, Victor Rear Admiral. Although Nun is usually a very serious person, he is really happy that Victor captured the Red Earl and was promoted smoothly. Nun believes the Andersons will also be proud of Victor. Victor accepted the fax, and after reading it, a slight smile appeared on his face. Marine Rear Admiral. This was within his expectations. At the same time, Victor was also appointed as the commander of the Special Forces directly under the headquarters. From the Special Forces of the G5 branch, it was renamed the Special Forces directly under the headquarters. This is not just a name change, but at the same time, the authority has also increased. Although Nun is Vice Admiral, after changing his name, Nun can no longer command Victor. Now Victor is dispatched by the headquarters, and to put it bluntly, under the control of Admiral and the Marshal. Nun said to Victor, Go and celebrate the day. Yes. After saluting, Victor turned and left. Victor returns to the Special Forces camp. At this time, the Marines in the camp stopped their work and fell silent. I'm going to announce 3 things now. Victor waved the fax in his hand and said to everyone. Eric, Kennard and others all looked at Victor. Victor said, the first thing is, I was promoted to the Rear Admiral of the headquarters, and the Special Forces also became directly under the headquarters. After listening, Eric, Kennard and the others all showed excited expressions on their faces. As the saying goes, one person attains the Tao, and the chicken and dog ascend to heaven. Because of the promotion to Rear Admiral, it means that Marine, who followed Victor first, has a chance to be promoted. The second thing. Victor raised his hand and stretched out 2 fingers. Everyone is promoted by 1 rank. Eric and the others were taken aback for a moment, then shouted loudly. Long live Victor Rear Admiral! Long live Victor Rear Admiral! Long live Victor Rear Admiral! The cheers and shouts of less than 1,000 people resounded through the entire G5 branch. What are the Special Forces doing? I do not know. Go and have a look. Some curious Marines came near the Special Forces camp. At this moment, Victor clenched his fist. The moment Victor clenched his fist, the camp fell silent. Victor continued, third thing. Start the celebration tonight, and I will be responsible for all expenses. Victor said calmly. Long live Victor Rear Admiral! Long live Victor Rear Admiral! Long live Victor Rear Admiral! Marine cheered again. Wright, Connor. At this moment, Victor named Wright and Connor. Wright and Connor came to Victor. Victor patted the 2 of them on the shoulder and said, from today on, you will be promoted to captains and temporarily serve as staff officers of the Special Forces. Wright and Connor were stunned. They were actually directly appointed as captains. Now I need you guys to do me a favor, Victor said to Wright and Connor. In the expectant eyes of Wright and Connor, Victor said, help me prepare the promotion list, and no one will be left behind. Yes. Wright and Connor nodded at the same time. Eric was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and Kennard was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Although the size of the Special Forces has not expanded, everyone has been promoted to a higher level. A promotion means a raise. Who would struggle with better treatment? Especially Wright and Connor were appointed captains by Victor. Wright and Connor were directly promoted to captain after just a few months of internship this year. Why did the others just go up 1 level? The reason for this is that they call their seniors and get closer to Victor. The minds of Eric, Kennard and others also became active. They need a closer relationship with Victor. Or rather, they wanted Victor to see their loyalty. In this way, they can rise faster. The news that Victor was promoted to Rear Admiral quickly spread throughout the G5 branch. Although Sakazuki, Paluzolino and others were also promoted. However, they only rose 1 level, promoted from Major to Lieutenant Colonel. In terms of promotion speed, they will lag behind Victor. Some of the military cadets who were interns at the same time as Wright and Connor are now sergeants and warrant officers. Look at Wright and Connor, who were directly promoted to captain by Victor. Also, Victor is already a Rear Admiral. He was promoted to Marine Rear Admiral at the age of 20, and he also captured the Red Earl who was difficult for Admiral to deal with. The future looks bright for Victor. Therefore, more and more military officers, as well as the new military cadets, became active in their minds and began to draw closer to Victor. Only by following a strong man like Victor will there be a future. South Blue, Leinster Harbor, Marine 191 Branch Base. Colonel Marta patrolled the port as usual. Merchants and tourists entering the port are required to pay taxes. Taxes are normal, as each country's seaports pay taxes. However, the port of Leinster has yet to donate. The beneficiary of this gratuitous, charitable donation is the Disabled Veterans Marine Foundation. Although it is a donation, it is mandatory and collected on a head-by-head basis. Regardless of men, women or children, as long as they enter Hong Kong, they will donate. The wind leaves traces, and the geese plucked their hairs. This is the fine tradition left by Victor to Branch 191. Marta, as Victor's successor, naturally wants to keep it. At this time, a newsbird landed in front of a passenger. The passenger just paid the donation and bought a newspaper. The headline of the newspaper was Victor's promotion to Marine Rear Admiral. The youngest Rear Admiral in history at sea. However, before the passenger finished reading the contents of the newspaper, Marta grabbed the newspaper directly. Look at the eye-catching title, and the photo under the title. Colonel Marta's body was shaking. He is so excited. Because Master Victor has been promoted, Marta believes Victor will not forget him. This means that he can continue to be promoted. The base of the G5 branch, the headquarters, is directly under the temporary command post of the Special Forces. Victor wrote a letter in which he recommended Lieutenant Colonel Orin to Sengoku to become the commander of the 189th branch. After the 189 branch was wiped out, it has not yet been supplemented with personnel, and the organizational system has been restored. However, Victor saw the news of the reconstruction of the port of Wilhelm today. I believe that the restoration of the 189 branch is also a recent event. Therefore, Victor recommended his former subordinates. Lieutenant Colonel Orin is also a member of Branch 191. After Lieutenant Colonel Marta was promoted to Colonel, Orin was also promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. In addition to Lieutenant Colonel Orin, the officers of the 191st branch have also been promoted. Right. At this moment, Victor called out. In the office, Wright stood up. Victor said to Wright, "Send this letter to the headquarters." Yes. Wright nodded, and immediately took the letter. Wright naturally saw the contents of the letter. He admired Victor even more. Although it is already the Rear Admiral of the headquarters, it still takes good care of the former subordinates. Connor is also in the office. He is studying the pirate's logbook and drawing a nautical chart at the same time. This is his interest and hobby. Moreover, Victor told them that to become a qualified commander, one must be familiar with astronomy and geography. Blue blue. Blue blue. At this moment, the phone bug on Victor's desktop beeped. Victor picked up the microphone. Mimicking Sengoku's voice, the phone bug said, "Victor, your Secret Service is in charge of escorting the Red Earl." Yes. Victor nodded seriously. Marineford, Naval Headquarters. Sengoku just put down the microphone. At this moment, Sengoku's Lieutenant Hill Commodore walked in. Sengoku Admiral, this is a fax just sent by Victor Rear Admiral. Hill Commodore held the fax in his hand and placed it in front of Sengoku. Sengoku glanced at the recommendation letter. A long list. Same as before. The recommended personnel are all former subordinates of Victor. Sengoku is used to it. Sengoku then wrote, "Agree," on the letter of recommendation and stamped it with his seal. For Victor's request, Sengoku will fulfill it. That's not a very outrageous request. It doesn't matter if Victor wants to support his subordinates or make money. As long as Victor can obey the orders of the ministry. The flaws do not conceal the virtues. Paluzolino was at the harbor, watching the Secret Service assemble. Victor walked behind Paluzolino. "I never thought we could act together." Paluzolino, Sakazuki and others stood up straight and saluted at the same time. Victor is now the rank of Rear Admiral and the highest officer of the escort mission. "Let's go," Victor said to everyone. "Yes," Paluzolino and the others said in unison. Marine in the military port boarded 3 warships respectively. This time the escort mission was assisted by 2,000 Marines sent by the G5 branch. After arriving at the G1 branch, the Marine of the G5 branch will return the same way. "Be careful on the road," Nun Vice Admiral said to Victor. Victor stood up straight and saluted Nun Vice Admiral. Nun Vice Admiral responded with a military salute. Subsequently, the Marine in the naval port removed the gangway. 3 warships slowly sailed out of the G5 branch. Port Wilhelm, Branch 189. Colonel Orin led a group of officers into the devastated base of the 189th branch. "Go and invite the nobles and rich merchants," Orin said to Lieutenant Colonel Bej beside him. Lieutenant Colonel Bej smiled and said, "Go right away." Orin proudly said, "Tell them, if they don't show up, they won't do business in Port Wilhelm in the future." Hey hey. The surrounding officers laughed out loud. They want to inherit Lord Victor's ideas and practices. Being a Marine means making money. Of course, it is also important to protect the safety of Fang Ping in the place where money is earned. Under Lord Victor's governance, Leinster Harbor has enjoyed good weather, and even thefts seldom occurred. The port of Wilhelm used to be a mess under the administration of Colonel Malone. Therefore, Master Victor's justice is correct. Evening. In the 189 branch base, hundreds of Marine soldiers conscripted a group of civilians and cleared the branch base. At this time, a large number of tents were set up on a clean open space. There are tables and chairs in the tent. The nobles and wealthy businessmen who were invited have already taken their seats. "Is everyone here?" Colonel Orin asked. Lieutenant Colonel Bej replied. Just counted and everything is here. N. Colonel Orin nodded in satisfaction, and then under the eyes of everyone, Colonel Orin turned towards the sky and shouted loudly, "Long live Lord Victor! Long live Lord Victor! Long live Lord Victor! Long live Lord Victor!" At this time, the surrounding Marines shouted at the same time. The Marines brought by Orin are all veterans from the 191st branch. Although there were only 1,000 people, the momentum was terrifying. The nobles and wealthy businessmen present were all frightened by this scene. Everyone, after Lord Victor came to Leinster Harbor last year, the law and order in Leinster Harbor improved. All pirates who dared to harass Leinster Harbor were hanged in the harbor. This year, if Lord Victor hadn't saved Wilhelm Port, then Wilhelm Port would have been completely destroyed by the Black Pirates. Lord Victor is a god, protecting the safety of everyone here. Orin's expression was agitated, which really frightened everyone present. However, Bej and others are used to it. Not only did they not feel embarrassed, but they learned from Orin. Because Orin's promotion rate is faster than Marta's. Orin is good at sycophants. He is like a follower of Victor, serving the gods with the most devout heart. Therefore, Victor liked Orin very much and promoted Orin exceptionally. The Holy Land of Mariajoy, the city of Pangu, among the powers. 5 elders just received a survey. After reading the survey, the 5 elders all laughed. Victor is really duplicity. Victor's recommendation of Orin as the commander of the 189th branch also reached the ears of the 5 elders. After Orin took office, he immediately began to blackmail and threaten the merchants and nobles in Port Wilhelm. If protection fees are not provided, merchants and nobles cannot do business normally. In addition, all merchants and passengers traveling to and from Wilhelm Port need to pay tolls. Of course, whether it is protection fees or tolls, they are all donated to the so-called Disabled Veterans Foundation in the form of donations. World government can easily find out from the bank account that the owner of the foundation is Victor. From the 191 branch, and then expanded to the 189 branch, Victor has been making money. Moreover, Victor also gave those subordinates who flattered him a chance to be promoted. A person with desire and greed, isn't he the most suitable candidate? Yeah, I hope he can keep his desire. Then let him come to see us. The 5 elders made a unanimous decision. They wanted to see Victor for themselves. After several days of sailing, the fleet arrived at the G1 branch. Subsequently, the 2 ships of the G5 branch returned to the G5 branch. Victor and others continued to Marineford, enter the Gateway of Justice from Marineford and eventually reach Impel Down. Hurry up, move faster. The prisoner is coming soon. In Impel Down, the jailers quickly stood on the pier under the urging of the warden Frundi. They are ready to meet the prisoners. Every time they meet a dangerous prisoner, they will be so cautious. At this time, Gary, the deputy director of Impel Down, Canlot, the warden, and others were all waiting at the pier. Under their gaze, 3 warships appeared on the sea. The warship stopped at the pier, and Victor stepped off the warship. "I've given it to you," Victor said to the waiting deputy director Gary, warden Canlot and others. At this moment, Victor felt an unusual gaze from the crowd. Behind Gary and Canlot stood a huge young man who looked like Satan. Victor recognized the identity of the young man. It was Magellan, the director of the future Impel Down. Magellan stared at Victor. Magellan is still very young, he is only 19 years old. Today, Magellan is the deputy warden. However, Victor is only 1 year older than him and is already famous all over the world. Defeated the long-established pirate at the age of 20. That's a villain that even Marine Admiral can't deal with. Victor caught Magellan's gaze. Cough cough cough. Gary glanced sideways, and then deliberately coughed to remind Magellan to pay attention to his performance. He's going to be the future of Impel Down. Victor looked at Magellan, smiled and said to Gary and the others. At this time, the Red Earl was carried off from the warship and handed over to the jailer. After Gary and others confirmed the identity of the Red Earl, they sent the Red Earl to Impel Down. Then take the elevator and go directly to the eternal hell of LV6. After Victor and others left, Gary couldn't help looking at Magellan. Magellan is now only the deputy warden. Moreover, Magellan has not eaten the poisonous fruit. However, Victor actually sees Magellan as the future of Impel Down. Gary felt that this matter needed to be reported to Director Ragnar. After handing over the prisoners, Victor returned to Marineford. He believed that coming back this time was not just for escorting prisoners. As predicted, when Victor disembarked from the warship, there was a Marine Commodore waiting for him in the naval port. This Marine Commodore is called Sannies. When Sannies saw Victor, he immediately raised his hands in salute. "Victor Rear Admiral, the Marshal is waiting for you on board," Sannies said to Victor. Victor glanced at the warship not far away, then nodded, and followed Sannies' Commodore. Soon, Victor saw Kuang and saluted Kuang. Kuang has a sullen face, showing no signs of happiness or anger, and just said lightly, "Sit down." Victor sat in his seat without saying a word. He doesn't like empty space very much. In his memory, Kuang will always be a poker face, as if the whole world owes him money. At this time, the warship left the harbor. Victor didn't ask where. However, judging from the direction of sailing, it should be Mariajoy. Kuang suddenly said, "5 elders want to see you." "Yeah." Victor replied calmly. Kuang said seriously, "Today's meeting is related to the future of you and Marine." "I see." Victor nodded. Following behind Kuang, Victor walked into Pangu City for the first time, and entered the Room of Power for the first time. Between the powers is the office of the 5 elders. At this time, Sora and Victor came to the 5 elders one after the other. The 5 elders were busy with each other, and after seeing the two of them, they didn't stop what they were doing. Until the white straight-haired old man put down the document in his hand and said, "Kuang, you can go out now." "Yes." Kuang replied, then turned and left. Sora is not the same as Akainu. Akainu thought that as the Marine Marshal, he could give advice to the 5 elders. In fact, whether it is the Marine Marshal or the Commander-in-Chief, they are all the same in the eyes of 5 elders. They are all puppets. Of course, this is also an understatement. 5 elders is hinting at Victor. In the face of the supreme power, even standing at the top of Marine is still very small. Victor, on the other hand, was very calm. No surprise, no fear. The 5 elders looked at Victor, and then at each other. The old man with glasses said, "We know what you want." The bald old man echoed, "What you are after is human nature." At this time, the blond old man looked at Victor and asked seriously, "What are you willing to pay?" Victor stood up straight, and replied in a military manner, "Neither humble nor humble, absolutely loyal." Ha ha ha. The 5 elders smiled at each other. The old man with curly white hair asked, "Tell me, what is absolute loyalty?" Without the slightest hesitation, Victor replied, "I will kill what the Marine dare not kill, and I will do what the Marine dare not do. As long as it is the order of the world government, I would rather kill 10,000 wrong people than spare a single person." Ha ha ha. The 5 elders laughed again. The straight-haired old man stood up and said to Victor, "We have felt your awakening. In order to allow you to perform tasks better and maintain the rule of the world government." In the hands of the old man with straight white hair, he picked up the box prepared in advance and handed it to Victor. Victor took the box and opened it. Inside is a devil fruit. The devil fruit contained in the box is purple and pineapple shaped. Victor has seen the devil fruit illustrated book. Therefore, he did recognize this devil fruit. Its zones human fruit, phantom beast, and titan form. Phantom beast species, that is even rarer than Logia. Moreover, the zone devil fruit resides within the will. Titan. That is the legendary Titan Protoss. At this time, the old man with white straight hair smiled and looked at Victor. "It should suit your fighting style very well." "Yes." Victor was satisfied. The old man with glasses said, "Eat it, and then use its power to your heart's content. While maintaining the authority of the world government, you can also get everything you want." "Yeah." Victor took a bite of devil fruit in front of 5 elders. "Unpalatable is really unpalatable. When I swallowed the first mouthful, I almost spit it out." However, after swallowing the devil fruit, a lot of information appeared in Victor's mind. The 5 elders looked at each other. At this moment, as at that moment. They choose Victor now, just as they chose Sengoku in the past. Among the new generation of Marine, a person with both wisdom and courage is needed. Victor is worth developing. Also, 5 elders think Victor is manageable. Because everything Victor wants, world government can give him. After Victor leaves the Room of Power, he encounters Sora in the corridor. Kuang was talking to a bald old man. Although the old man was old, he was still strong, and the epaulets on his military uniform revealed his identity. The current commander-in-chief Glenn. Glenn is 86 years old this year, which is considered an advanced age. He has read countless people, and he is the best of his time no matter in terms of resourcefulness or strength. Glenn looked at Victor. Victor stood up straight and saluted Glenn. "Commander. When I saw you for the first time, you were only this old." Glenn gestured with his hand, then said to Victor with a smile, "Hey, unexpectedly, so many years have passed in the blink of an eye." Glenn walked up to Victor and patted him on the shoulder. "Anderson would be proud of you, the youngest Rear Admiral in our Marine." After speaking, Glenn walked into the room of power. "We're going to meet the 5 elders, you go back by yourself first," Sora said to Victor. Victor nodded and left Pengu City. Victor is ready to return to the new world. He has now gained more power. In the world of One Piece, if there is no awakening ability of the zoned phantom beast species, it is impossible to have a peak duel in the later stage. Luffy's Nika form can restore his status to full. Kaido's awakening state is probably similar. Because of Zone's awakening ability, it has the ability to restore the state. Now, all Victor needs is military exploits, through promotion to Marine Admiral. He's going to be the youngest admiral in Marine history. However, before Victor returned to New World, Sengoku gave him a new mission. Buster Call. Victor was notified of the Buster Call. The target is a country called Retar. Buster Call is a brutal and inhuman attack that burns everything, consisting of 10 ships, 5 vice admirals, 10 rear admirals, and an elite force of 10,000 Marines. This time, Victor is programmed into it. Naturally, he also planned to hone Victor. If Victor does not perform well in this mission, it will affect his future. Therefore, Victor naturally cannot show mercy. The fleet assembled at Marineford, and the next day, the fleet left Marineford and sailed for Retal. "Senior, who is our target this time?" It was the first time that Wright and Connor performed Buster Call. Just hearing the name, they feel very anti-wind. Buster Call must be to crusade against demons. Of course, it is understood literally. Victor looked at Wright, Connor and the others, and suddenly said seriously, "You have to remember one thing." Wright, Connor and others listened carefully. Victor said to Wright, Connor and others, "You are soldiers, and you need to obey the orders of your superiors no matter when and where." Yes. Wright and Connor nodded after hearing Victor's words. This sentence must be remembered forever. Victor patted the two of them on the shoulder and said, "The Kingdom of Retar is a small island nation with a population of less than 1 million. Although the country is small, it was once a member of the world government. Later, because the island's resources were exhausted and it was impossible to pay the heavenly gold, it was forgotten by the world. However, it is such a small island country that has been forgotten by people, but it is facing a catastrophe. At this time, 10 warships stopped off the coast of Retar Kingdom. Strangely enough, the Kingdom of Retar did not see a single ship. Is there no fleet to trade here? The gun cover of the naval gun was torn off, and the muzzle was aimed at the town on the island. Fire. Sengoku gave the order to fire. Boom, boom, boom. 10 warships and hundreds of naval guns fired salvos, and the shells landed on the island, immediately causing flames to soar into the sky. Shells fell into the town, destroying a house in one shot. The whole house was instantly engulfed in flames. The residents in the room didn't even have a chance to escape. At this time, Wright, Connor and others used binoculars to observe the situation on the island. They saw people who had nowhere to escape on the streets of the town, being blown to pieces one by one. These people have one thing in common. Their bodies were all emaciated, and their skin surface was festered, as if they were infected with some kind of disease. "Senior, they don't look like pirates and villains." Wright couldn't stand it anymore. He turned and asked Victor. Victor smoked a cigarette and said calmly, "Remember what I told you before?" Wright nodded with difficulty. Victor said, "We are soldiers, and the job of soldiers is to carry out orders." Connor clenched his fists and looked puzzled. "But why are you shelling civilians? Isn't the justice of Marine to eliminate the strong and help the weak, punish the evil and promote the good?" Victor smiled and said, "Just execute the order." "Me." Connor hesitated to speak. Victor was smoking, and he could feel someone watching him. Was it someone sent by the 5 elders? Is it testing his performance? If yes, then take a good look. Absolute loyalty. The shelling lasted more than an hour. The entire island was burning, and the entire capital was reduced to ruins. With such intensive shelling, how many survivors will be left in the capital? At this time, Sengoku's voice sounded on the ship's radio. Ready to land, no one left. Victor looked at Eric, Kennard, Wright, Connor and others. After landing on the island, don't leave any alive, not even a mouse. Yes. Eric, Kennard and others were greatly shocked. However, this is an order and must be carried out. Under Victor's order, the special forces began to land. They have only one task, and that is to kill anyone they meet, leaving no one alive. In the village closest to the beach, sporadic gunshots sounded at any time. If survivors are found, they are shot directly. At this time, a sea soldier named Omar discovered a cellar. The cellar door was closed. Omar opened the cellar door. When the light shone into the cellar, Omar could clearly see the faces of a dozen children. The children were all thin and frightened with purple abscesses on their faces. At the same time, Omar noticed that their eyes were full of fear, and they were all squeezing into the corner one by one. Have you found anything? An ensign came outside the cellar and asked Omar. Omar turned around and reported, Sir, there are many children inside. Then execute them all. Ensign frowned and ordered. K are all children. Omar's hand holding the gun was trembling, asking him to kill these sick children. How could he do it? Ensign ordered. Follow orders. Here, they are all children. Omar gritted his teeth, but he still couldn't bear to shoot. Let him risk his life to fight the pirates, he will never turn back. But let him kill sick children. If you can't do it, get out of the way. Ensign didn't have the patience to persuade him, and then he ordered a few sailors to do it. You are not allowed to go in. Omar stopped in front of the cellar, not letting anyone pass. Catch him. Ensign lost patience. The surrounding sailors rushed forward to arrest Omar. However, Omar raised his gun, as if to resist. Put the gun down. Omar, are you crazy? The sailors also did not expect Omar to point his gun at his companions. At this time, Victor came over. What's wrong? Victor asked Ensign. After seeing Victor, Ensign immediately stood up straight and saluted. Victor, Rear Admiral. A child was found inside, but Seaman First Class Omar wants to stop others. Victor came to Omar. When Omar saw Victor, the hand holding the gun trembled. He could push the others back with a gun, but he couldn't threaten Victor. Never point a gun at your comrade, let alone your commander. Victor reached out, grabbed the rifle, and with a gentle pull, the rifle was there. Omar dared not resist at all. Don't feel guilty, they are all infected with the virus. If it spreads outside, more people will die. In front of everyone, Victor made up a reason at random. Of course, his subordinates will think that it is the reason provided by the world government. I can help you transfer to other units. Victor patted Omar on the shoulder and handed the rifle to the other sailors. Blow it up, Victor said to a sailor. Yes. Sailors threw explosives towards the cellar. Boom. The cellar was blown down. There can't be any living creatures inside. Omar stared at all this dumbfounded, then knelt on the ground. In a small alley in the town, Wright found a diary. The owner of the diary is a doctor, and he recorded a strange disease that broke out in the kingdom of Retar. The skin of all people infected with strange diseases will fester. The doctor investigated and found that it was a problem with the water source. The water source of Retar Kingdom is polluted. The pollution source comes from the mining area. The minerals produced in the mining area used to be the main source of income for the kingdom of Retar. It was also because of the depletion of resources that the kingdom of Retar was unable to pay the heavenly gold and lost the protection of the world government. Moreover, when the kingdom of Retar sought help from the outside world, there were no doctors to help them. The entire country is controlled by the army of the world government. All ships were destroyed. Nearly 1 million people across the country have been quarantined. Wright handed the diary to Connor. After a quick glance, Connor frowned and said, "It's related to world government." Wright said, "That's why the buster call was issued. Give it to the senior first." At this time, Wright said to Connor. Connor nodded. Immediately, Connor and Wright found Victor. They are responsible for clearing the east and looking for survivors. Senior. Wright handed the diary to Victor, and said in a low voice, "The world government is hiding the truth." After reading it, Victor threw the diary into the fire. Victor patted Wright on the shoulder. "Remember what I told you. Obey orders." Wright stood up straight and replied loudly, "Yeah." Victor walked on. This scene was watched by someone from a distance. The kingdom of Retar, with a population of nearly 1 million, all died under Buster Call. However, no one will care about it, because they have been forgotten by the world. Over the years, the world government has isolated the kingdom of Retar, and no information can be transmitted to the outside world. Similar things, there is also the country of Frevens, which is called White Town by the world. The world government has long deliberately concealed the toxicity of lead ammonium and its characteristics of accumulating toxins in the bodies of long-term contacts. As a result, the residents of Frevens all suffered from the poly-lead disease, that had abnormally pale complexion, shortened life expectancy, and eventually resulted in the cannibalization of children. Moreover, because the world government deliberately ignored it, and neighboring countries mistook the PB disease as a terrible infectious disease, they successively imposed isolation measures on Frevens, and even killed the infected residents of Frevens. Mariajoy, Pangu City. Between powers, the 5 elders are watching CP0's report. According to CP0's monitoring, Victor's performance in Buster Call is very good. Resolutely execute the order, and transfer all soldiers who refuse to execute the order from the special forces. Any evidence that might endanger the world government was also destroyed by Victor. The straight-haired old man smiled and said, "He really didn't disappoint us. This is in line with our expectations," the old man with glasses said with a smile. The bald old man chuckled. "The youngest and most powerful admiral in marine history will be the new face of world government." The curly-haired old man said, "Indeed, he is much more reliable than Garp." At this time, the blond old man asked, "Then should he be transferred to New World?" The bald old man said, "It is necessary for him to accumulate more military merits, and it will also enhance his deterrent power." The old man with white straight hair said, "Well, I think so too." Ha ha ha. The 5 elders looked at each other tacitly. Victor was a sword they forged. Not only must you have strong strength, but you must also have terrifying prestige. Just like Garp, pirates shudder when they hear Garp's name. After the execution of the Buster Call, Victor and all officers and soldiers of the Special Forces got a 1-month vacation. The officers and soldiers of the Special Forces went to Sabodi Archipelago immediately. They are human too and need indulgence. The Sabodi Archipelago is just the place to be happy. Before all the officers and soldiers of the Special Forces set off, Victor paid 300 million Baileys out of his own pocket. These 300 million Baileys are enough for all the officers and soldiers to have a big meal. All officers and men are naturally grateful for Victor's generosity. As for Victor, he has other things to do. On the first day after the vacation, Victor went to the Marine Cemetery. The Marine Cemetery is in the southwest corner of the town of Marineford. The remains of the Marines in this department are all buried here. Victor came to visit the graves of his parents in this life. He comes here every year. He is not out of filial piety. Instead, he wants other people to see his filial piety. Victor brought the Andersons' favorite wine and desserts as offerings. Jujube wine, chestnut cake. Victor laid out the offerings, then sat quietly beside the tombstone, quietly. He will sit all day. During this process, there is always a Marine who will see it. If someone wears a mask all their life, that mask becomes someone's face. Victor has maintained this habit for a full 10 years. Therefore, in naval headquarters, everyone thinks Victor is a dutiful child. How can a filial child be so bad? Now, Victor, by the way, for the 5 elders. Anyway, it's acting. The number of audience doesn't matter. As an actor, he just needs to play his role well. You are indeed here. At this time, a woman's voice sounded behind Victor. It was Crane who came. Victor didn't answer. Crane came to Victor and presented his own flowers. Every year, as long as there is a holiday, you will come to accompany them. Victor asked, "Suru Aunt, is there something wrong?" Crane said, "Zephyr heard that you were on vacation, and asked you to go to the military academy to find him tomorrow." "Yeah, I see." Victor nodded. Crane raised his hand and patted Victor's head lightly. "I know you won't forget your parents' enmity, and I can't persuade you to let go of your enmity, but don't do extreme things. Victor didn't answer. Crane sighed softly, looking at the tombstone of the Andersons. In her opinion, the purpose of Victor's promotion and establishment of a faction is to revenge. Victor wants to purify the sea, it means war. Therefore, she judges that Victor is preparing for the war in the future. It's just that Crane can't persuade Victor. Although she can activate the devil fruit ability to purify Victor's heart. However, she can't do that. Marineford Township, Marine Military Academy. When Victor walked into the military academy, he immediately attracted attention. During his school days, Victor was a star on campus. Moreover, Zephyr often mentions Victor. Even the current marine gymnastics textbooks contain Victor's 6 forms of derivative techniques and 6 forms of cultivation experience. On each book, not only Victor's name, but also Victor's photo. Holder of various records in the military academy. So far, it has not been surpassed. At this time, Zephyr was on the high platform of the training ground, watching Victor, who was walking step by step. Under the watchful eyes of all the cadets, Victor stepped onto the high platform. Teacher Zephyr. Victor salutes Zephyr. Zephyr patted Victor on the shoulder in relief, and said, "You did a good job." Victor's face was expressionless. At this time, the cadets in the training ground watched Victor. In the eyes of most military students, there is worship. 2 years ago, Victor graduated from here, and now he is the brightest star in this department. The news about him defeating and capturing the Red Earl alive has long been known to the world. Among the crowd, a young man with a turban on his head was looking at Victor. Kuzan. Zephyr looked at the young man, and called out the young man's name, "Come up." Now Kuzan is very energetic, not only talkative, but also full of energy. He yearned for justice and yearned for life after graduation. Become an excellent sea soldier, punish the evil and promote the good, eliminate the strong and help the weak. Meanwhile, Kuzan also adores Garp. Hello senior. Kuzan was very curious about Victor. At only 20 years old, Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral was able to, and the Red Earl was captured. Victor said with a blank face, "When you see the officer in the future, you must learn to salute." Victor Rear Admiral. Kuzan straightened his body and saluted again. At this time, Zephyr said to Victor, "Today I specially invite you to come back to give a speech, and talk to them about how to exercise your body." Victor heard this and did not refuse. He knew that Zephyr was also motivating students by doing this. Have the cadets target Victor. After all, not everyone has the talent of Victor, Sakazuki, Peluzalino, Kuzan and others. However, Victor is not only talented, but also practiced hard. Physical training. I have divided it into 3 primary, intermediate, and advanced chapters. The primary chapters are health preservation, strength training, and energy accumulation. Health preservation, as the name suggests, is to keep the body energetic through regular diet and sleep. Only with abundant energy can we maintain our high-intensity training for a day. Strength training is a daily exercise program. These Zephyr teachers have taught you and will also supervise you to make you stronger and increase your strength and endurance. As for accumulating power, it is to keep the power of promotion in the body. As we all know, our body is a container, and any part of our body stores energy. When we need it, we can mobilize it. Victor began to explain the elementary chapter of physical training. Every student present is listening carefully, including Kuzan. Although Kuzan admires Garp very much, he feels that the physical training methods taught by Victor, as well as the 6-style derivative skills, are simply more subtle, better understood, and more practical than those learned in military schools. Of course, Kuzan didn't think Zephyr taught him badly. It's just that Victor's way of thinking is completely different from Zephyr's. If you have seen the derivation skills of the 6 styles, you should remember, Life Returna 8 Inner Gatisa Open Gate. Originally, our body control is controlled by the brain. The left brain controls the right body, and the right brain controls the left body, but the return of life can freely control every part of the body, including hair and pores. Therefore, I came up with a method to release the control of the brain and completely concentrate the energy of the body. It allows me to exert my full speed and strength in a short period of time. Victor spoke very seriously, and the students in the training ground paid full attention, for fear of missing a word. Zephyr arranged 3 presentations for Victor. The first 2 sessions were physical training and 6-style training. The last one is Victor's personal talk show. When I was 10 years old, I lost my parents. My parents died at the hands of pirates for justice. Of course, I am not the only one who has become an orphan. There are many, many people in this world. Since then, I have had a dream. Dreaming that the sea becomes pure. There are no pirates, no crimes, no killings, and every child can grow up healthy, happy and carefree with the company of their parents. I know it's hard, and I also know that it's hard to do it on my own. However, I want to try, through our hands, to create such a pure sea. I also believe that there will be like-minded partners like me. Victor has both voice and emotion, and his feelings are sincere and moving. On the training ground, every cadet was moved by Victor. Zephyr sighed secretly. Victor's dream, he knew it early on. Over the years, Victor has stuck with it. Zephyr also asked Victor why he selflessly shared the physical skills and cultivation experience he had learned. Zephyr will never forget Victor's answer to this day. If every Marine can become stronger, there will be fewer tragedies in the sea. Therefore, Zephyr believes that Victor's current actions are all based on justice and dreams. After listening carefully, Kuzan felt admiration for Victor. If it was him, it would be difficult to be like Victor. It's not that Kuzan is selfish and unwilling to share his cultivation experience, but because it requires patience. In Kuzan's eyes, Victor is indeed doing something great. 3 speeches are over. Victor didn't leave military school. Victor will be in counseling for the next week. If the juniors and juniors have any questions, they can ask him. And Zephyr also had people videotaping speeches. He will share the images with each class of students. Now the character set is complete. After leaving military school, Victor felt a sense of relief. In order to maintain his great image, he had to be patient and be an enthusiastic senior. Every student who came to him for consultation, he will patiently answer their questions. He suddenly admired Song Jiang and Liu Bei. It is said that Song Jiang and Liu Bei are hypocritical. However, it is their skill that these two can maintain it for such a long time. At this time, a newsbird flew by. Victor beckoned, and newsbird delivered a newspaper. After Victor paid the money, he began to read the contents of the newspaper. The headline on the front page is that Golden Lion eliminated 3 pirate groups in a row in a week. Nearly 10,000 people perished at sea during the annexation. Those who follow me prosper, those who oppose me perish. Victor looked at the contents of the newspaper and couldn't help smiling. Golden Lion is a villain with strong action. If I catch the Golden Lion, can I be directly promoted to Marine Admiral? Victor murmured. Now Naval Headquarters only has 1 Admiral in Sengoku. Although Zephyr is also a Marine Admiral, he is basically busy in the military academy and is not considered a combat power. The world government wants to promote Garp to Admiral. However, Garp has always refused to accept. Therefore, arresting the Golden Lion is a very good opportunity for Victor. However, it is not so difficult to capture the Golden Lion alive. Golden Lion is stronger than Red Earl. To be honest, the difference in strength between Roger, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, and Garp is not that big. And, Golden Lion has lion fruit. Unless someone joins forces with Victor, it will be difficult to catch the Golden Lion. Victor. At this time, a soft voice came from behind. Victor turned to look. I saw a woman in a red shirt and beige shorts beckoning to him. Beside the woman, a young man wearing a brown vest and brown trousers, looking carefree, was picking his nose without any image. It's Guion and Cake. Victor took the initiative to walk over and greet Guion and Cake. Guion, Cake, future Marine Admiral candidates. In fact, they also have the strength of Admiral. Just not as good as Fujitora, Green Bull. I want to call you sister. Guion raised his hand and patted Victor's head lightly, his eyes full of doting. Guion is regarded as a younger sister by Subaru. During a mission, Crane brought Guion back and raised him into Marine. As a child, Victor received a lot of attention from Guion. She takes care of Victor like a sister. I really want to be hit on the head by Guion. Ji was forced to be jealous beside him. However, Guion continued to ignore Cake. She took Victor's hand and said, You have already been promoted to Rear Admiral, and we haven't celebrated for you yet. Then make it up today, Victor said. Hey, don't be so close, Ji reminded. Guion smiled and said, Then let's go to Sabodi Archipelago. Yeah. Victor nodded in agreement. Victor. Ji continued to be upset by his side, but still no one paid him any attention. Victor, Gion, and Cake came to Sabodi Archipelago. All three of them were in civilian clothes. However, the looks and figures of Victor and Gion are easy to attract attention. He looks so familiar. Where have I seen him? When you say that, I think I've seen it somewhere before. I remember, it's Victor Rear Admiral. Yes, it's him, Victor Rear Admiral who captured the Red Earl. Victor was recognized anyway. He is now considered a celebrity in the sea, a big man who makes the headlines of the newspapers, so it is not surprising that he is recognized. However, Victor's expression is very natural. He didn't feel nervous or uncomfortable at all. Even if there are thousands of eyes looking at him, he remains indifferent. At this time, there was a young man with gray-green hair in the crowd. While the crowd was not paying attention, he stole a woman's wallet. When the teenager was about to run away, Victor's eyes fell on him. The teenager felt like he was locked in. Before Victor could make a move, Qiwuhai followed Victor's gaze, grabbed the boy first, and snatched the wallet back from the boy's hand. Cake thought he could show it in front of Gion. After the boy was caught, his complexion was gloomy. Since he was 12 years old, he started stealing money because he had no money to eat. So far, every time he was caught, he was beaten severely. Victor took the wallet and handed it to the dazed woman. The woman saw her wallet, subconsciously touched her clothes, and found that the wallet was gone. Thank you, Victor Rear Admiral, the woman said gratefully. Victor took out some change from his body, handed it to the young man, and said, "Go shopping and eat. When you are full, find a job and stop stealing." The boy looked at Victor blankly. "Hey, Victor, he's a thief," Qiwuhai reminded. From Qiwuhai's point of view, Victor's handling method was wrong. Victor said indifferently, if he still had his parents, they wouldn't make him suffer so much. Yeah. Gion took the lead in applauding. There was applause all around. In Gion's eyes, Victor is a very gentle boy. Because I have been exposed to rain, I always want to hold an umbrella for others. Victor lost his parents when he was 10 years old, and Gion believes that Victor's words came from the bottom of his heart. Under the watchful eyes of the people around this scene, they all thought Victor was a very kind Marine. The boy took the change and ran away quickly. He hid in the corner, gasping for breath. His name was Gilder Tetsolo. He was born into a very poor family. He was ostracized by his friends because he was poor, and he yearned for the entertainment seen from outside the venue. However, his father was a gambler and died of illness one day. Later, the family became poorer, and the mother hated Tetsolo's singing, so she ran away. Since there was nothing to eat, he started stealing money. And he made friends with money. Victor Rear Admiral. Tetsolo looked at the change in his hand and remembered Victor. For the first time since he was a child, someone helped him. Victor. What an attractive man. Behind a big tree, a young woman with short black hair and a spider-patterned blouse murmured. Women are called Shaki. 12 years ago, she was hunted down by Nuoqigao Garp, and then retired to run bars on the islands of Sabodi. She is an informant herself, collecting a lot of information and selling some information. Right now, Victor's intelligence is valuable. Powers all over the world are interested in Victor. Under Shaki's gaze, the three of Victor walked into a tavern. Victor could feel a lot of people watching him. However, he didn't really care. In the tavern, Victor ordered a lot of food and drink, and Gion sat beside him, singing and drinking with Victor. Plus, you can only drink boring wine. The taste of wine is sour. At this time, Victor suddenly asked Gion, "Want to come to my army?" "Your army?" Gion was stunned for a second or two, then smiled and said, "Since it is Victor's invitation, my sister will naturally agree." Cake was surprised when he heard this, and hurriedly said, "Hey, Gion, how can you be with Victor?" Victor also ignored Cake. "Then let me talk to Sengoku uncle and ask him to transfer you over." Although the combat power of the special forces is not weak, they lack strong ones. In New World, there are forces that are as strong as their own and their cadres are everywhere. The 1-month vacation is coming to an end soon. Victor leads the special forces and leaves Mariajoy. This time, Victor did not go to the G1 and G5 branches, but went directly to the Crusade mission. Fight against the great pirates in New World. Apparently, 5 elders in Sengoku have the same idea. They all want to develop Victor into a second Garp. Or, to put it another way, Both the Five Elders and Sengoku want to reduce Garp's influence. Five Elders and Sengoku gave Victor a crusade list, including Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Roger, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido and others are all on the crusade list. Of course, there are other optional targets besides Whitebeard et al. For example, Gustav the Man-Eating Crocodile, Butler the Troll, Cindy the Executioner, etc. The bounties offered by these great pirates are each more than 500 million Baileys. It seems that some are busy. Victor smiled and handed the list to Gion. Originally, the fate of these great pirates was either to be defeated by Roger, Whitebeard, and Golden Lion, or to be sent to impel down by Garp, Sengoku, and others. Oh my god, are they thinking you're a Garp? Ji said in surprise. Although Victor only invited Gion, Cake followed him on board. He doesn't worry about Gion being with Victor. Lonely and widowed, what if in short, they cannot be left alone? So, at Cake's request, Sengoku also agreed to Cake's transfer to the Special Forces. Who do you want to fight against? Ji knew Victor, since he was young, he liked to take the #1 spot. Victor loves to express himself too much, Gustav, Victor said. Are you crazy? Ji said in astonishment. Man-eating alligator, Gustav. A reward of 665 million Baileys is offered. Gustav is not only powerful, but also has the habit of eating people. Rumor has it that Gustav once ate people from a country when he was angry. Actually going to crusade against him, and only with the Special Forces. After several days of sailing, the warship arrived at a deserted island. Wright stood on the mast, watching with a telescope. He found several pirate ships parked in the harbor. On the masts of these pirate ships, there are pirate flags with giant crocodiles biting skulls. Report: the pirate ship of the giant crocodile pirates was found ahead. Wright quickly came to Victor. Well, Sengoku Admiral's information is really accurate. Victor held a small box in his hand. Inside the box is a fragment of a life card. In the early years, Sengoku sent people to lurk into the giant crocodile pirates and became one of them. As long as Sengoku wants to do something to the giant crocodile pirates, he can finish them at any time. Victor took out a cigarette, smoked it slowly, and said, "Let's do it." Yes. Wright immediately communicated Victor's orders. Subsequently, the warship began shelling. Boom, boom, boom. With the sound of cannons, the cannonballs fell towards the pirate ship in the bay with the sound of piercing through the air. First sink the pirate ship so that the pirates cannot escape from here. The giant crocodile pirates naturally heard the sound of the cannon. The cadre in charge of standing guard immediately picked up the binoculars and observed the sea. It's marine. Only one warship. After the cadre saw it clearly, he immediately shouted downward. Upon hearing this, Gustav snorted coldly. Do you dare to arrest me with just one warship? Boss, could it be Garp? At this time, the white-bearded cadre beside Gustav asked. Gustav was taken aback when he heard this. Do not rule out this possibility. Even if Garp came, I wouldn't be afraid of him. Gustav snorted coldly. He opened his mouth, showing his fangs. I will chew Garp whole and swallow it in my stomach. Gustav is 33 years old this year. Since his debut, he has encountered and played against Garp, Sengoku, Roger, Whitebeard and others many times. It's just that he hasn't lost yet, because Gustav's devil fruit is a very rare zone crocodile fruit in the form of the ancient emperor crocodile. The emperor crocodile was once one of the largest crocodiles, with an exceptionally sensitive sense of smell and a huge mouth full of sharp teeth. Even a dinosaur would become its mouth in an instant. Since Gustav's debut, countless opponents have been crushed and devoured by his giant mouth. Report: all 3 enemy ships are on fire. At this time, Connor reported the results to Victor. Yeah. Victor nodded, and then continued to give orders. Tell brothers, prepare to go to the island for battle. Yes. Eric, Kennard and others are ready to go. As the landing craft fell into the sea, the special forces prepared to attack the island. Victor looked at Gion and Cake. Please take care of them. Gion hummed. You don't need to tell me, I will do the same. Ji said unhappily, and then muttered in a low voice. I hope there will be no accidents. Victor stepped on the moonwalk and rushed into the air. His moonwalk is very fast, and every time he steps out, it is a full 100 meters away. In a few moments, Victor was already seen. Cake and Guion quickly appeared on the beach with the special forces. There are only so few people who dare to attack us. Brothers, kill them all. Kill. A raging soldier, a raging nest. Under the influence of Gustav for a long time, the pirates of the giant crocodile pirates are very cruel, and they are particularly bloodthirsty in battle. At this time, with the encouragement of the cadres, the pirates rushed from the woods on the island to the beach. Boom. 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 At this time, the naval guns on the warship began to bombard the woods. The shells fell into the woods, ignited the woods, and blasted some unlucky people into the sky. Rush over and get entangled with Marine. Pirates of New World have rich combat experience. They knew that Marine's guns were more accurate and more powerful than theirs. Therefore, only after close combat can their strength and numerical advantage be brought into play. Die. A sailor just raised the butt of his gun and knocked over a pirate minion. However, before he could refill his gun, a sharp knife came from behind and pierced his chest. Gerald. When the sailor fell, he could still see his companions shouting. Plop. He opened his eyes wide, feeling that his vitality was draining rapidly. Warm blood flowed out from the body, staining the beach red. Pirate and Marine fell to the ground one after another. This is the battle of the New World. Keep in formation, don't be surrounded and divided. Eric, Kennard and others reminded loudly. Beside them, dozens of pirates have been cut down, and the knives in their hands are covered with blood. There is no justice or evil on the battlefield, only strong and weak, life and death. The pungent smell of gunpowder smoke mixed with the smell of blood and body odor of sweat. The heartbeat was beating violently, and at this moment, everything was very clear. Both Guion and Cake are swordmasters in the headquarters. Guion chopped down dozens of people in succession with the jinpira in his hand, and saved more than 10 people at the same time. The number of pirates who have been hacked and killed is more. Victor really knows how to pick opponents, Gage muttered. If it was in the first half of the Grand Line, the pirates would have already fled. However, New World's pirates are different. Pirates of the New World are like bloodthirsty beasts. They will not be defeated until their leader is defeated. You seem to be very powerful. At this time, a swordsman with 2 swords rushed towards Jake. Ji glanced at him, then quickly swung his knife and slashed at the person coming. When the 3 knives slashed together heavily, there was a lot of disdain on Ji's face. Sneak attack? As a swordsman, Ji disdains sneak attacks the most. He likes to beat his opponents with dignity. I just want to take your head off, I don't care how. The man licked his lips and looked at Ji provocatively. There are too many idiots like you. Don't look at him as a fool. His strength can be ranked among the young and strong factions in the headquarters. It's just that Ji's desire for promotion is not strong, and when he gets along with the senior management of the headquarters, he always causes troubles. Otherwise, Ji is now also a rear admiral. Oh, then chop off my head. The man swung the 2 knives frantically, his speed was getting faster and faster, and his movements were very exaggerated. Mad Dog Johnson. The 4th seat in the giant crocodile pirates has a reward of 150 million Baileys. Boom. Just then, there was a loud noise. Dozens of sailors were blown out. Ha ha ha. I saw a tall titan with a black cannon in his left hand. Cannon Golding. Golding is more than 16 meters tall, and his left hand has been transformed into a cannon, while his right hand holds a huge sword. Golding, the 5th member of the crocodile pirates, has a reward of 140 million Baileys. Their cadres have appeared. Everyone be careful. Guion opened his mouth to remind everyone. It's so beautiful. At this moment, a man with a steel fork jumped up. The man's skin is dark blue, with brown mottled lines on his face and a mouth full of fangs. He is Murloc Lowry, the 3rd member of the giant crocodile pirates, who has a reward of 190 million Baileys. Lowry is about 5 meters tall, and the steel fork in his hand is nearly 7 meters long. However, the 7-meter steel fork was very nimble in Lowry's hands. He stabbed Guion continuously, and Guion arrived with his sword. Ding ding ding. Every time the steel fork and sword collide, sparks will be splashed. Guion knew that Lowry was strong, so she focused on it and didn't dare to be distracted. Howl. Howl. At this time, there was a loud howling of wolves in the bushes. 2 human wolves, one black and the other white, jumped out of the forest. They were about 3 meters tall, and they smashed the pirate's head with a slap of their sharp claws. Brother Werewolf. Wright stared at the werewolf rushing out and shouted loudly. There are 5 powerful cadres in the giant crocodile pirates. Among them, the first and second place are the werewolf brothers. The big brother is called Bogda, and the younger brother is called Chi Noel. Bogda ate Zone a dogfruit a coyote form, Chi Noel ate Zone a dogfruit a maned wolf form. At this time, the black coyote and the white maned wolf sneaked up behind Marine. They have been lying in ambush in the woods, waiting for a sneak attack. Let me be your opponent. Eric waved the knife in his hand and rushed towards Bogda. Kennard also charged at Chi Noel. Is it up to you? Bogda kicked Eric in a roundabout in the wolf form. Eric reacted quickly enough and immediately dodged away. However, in the next second, Bogda had already pounced. He opened his bloody mouth wide, intending to bite Eric. Eric swung his knife and slashed away. Ding. The knife in Eric's hand was actually bitten by Bogda. Eric began to exert force, trying to draw the knife out. However, while Bogda shook the wolf's head, his right paw grabbed Eric hard. Under Victor's guidance, Eric has greatly improved his strength. He quickly gave up the knife in his hand, and at the same time, adjusted his breathing and controlled his body. Paper arts. Eric's body seemed to turn into a piece of paper, and he floated backwards, avoiding the fatal claw. And not far away, Kennard's situation is even more dangerous. Kennard knows that his talent is very average, so he majors in Tempest Kick and Iron Body. His slash missed Chi Noel. Chi Noel runs around the Kennard loop. In Kennard's blind spot, Chi Noel jumped above Kennard's head. Kennard's body was shrouded in black shadow. The claws clawed hard at Kennard's head. If caught, as long as Noel's sharp claws are used hard, Kennard's head will be crushed. On the nick of time. Just a whoosh. A boulder flew over. Before Chi Noel had time to react, he was hit by a boulder. Boom. Chi Noel fell to the ground, covered in blood. The stone is flying from that direction. It's Victor. Jiaji's eyes widened. He was about to go to support just now, but he didn't expect Victor to be faster. It's just that he finds it incredible. Victor was able to provide support from 1,000 meters away.